Chapter 232, Zion and Chen. After Yuan Che went into seclusion to build his foundation, Chen Mobai inquired about the divine tree secret realm from Yi Yun. This is a secret passed down orally through my Shenmu sect. Since you have already established your foundation, it is no harm to tell you. The divine tree secret realm is said to have been left behind by ancient cultivators. In the past, true monarch Yi Yuan entered it and took away the greatest opportunity. It should have collapsed and disappeared. But the true Lord, out of compassion for all living beings, felt that future generations of cultivators should have a chance. So he painstakingly transplanted 3 divine trees, connecting them to the earth veins of Giant Tree Ridge, reinforcing this secret realm and leaving an entrance that could be opened. Once inside, there will be 3 directions, each representing a different kind of test. The opportunities you will receive depend on these. Yi Yun no longer treated Chen Mobai as an outsider and told him all the secrets of the Shenmu sect's heritage. Chen Mobai had no concept of ancient cultivators, secret realms, divine trees, or anything like that. But the one Yuan true lord is very famous. A recently ascended cultivator from the heavenly river realm has become involved with this divine tree secret realm, so the things inside must be of high quality. What are those 3 tests? Chen Mobai asked again. The more I know, the better prepared I can be. Yi Yun smiled. The great Tao, magic treasures talent. What does separation mean? Yi Yun didn't know the answer to this question either. He shook his head and simply recounted his own experience from back then. Once you enter the secret realm, all you need to do is show your truest self and move in 3 directions. I fainted in front of the great Tao tree, obtained the heavenly cicada spirit leaf from the magic treasure tree, and got an ancient scroll from the talent tree. When the 3 of us brothers entered the secret realm, Zhou Wangshan and I quickly fainted in front of the great Tao tree. However, while we were unconscious, senior brother Hong was still walking steadily forward. Perhaps he knew something. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai expressed his gratitude to Yi Yun. In an environment like Tianheji, Yi Yun's willingness to selflessly share his experience and insights demonstrates his remarkable vision. Is senior brother Hong in Jumu Ridge? Would it be convenient for me to visit him? Finally, Chen Mobai asked a question without thinking. He had always wanted to get to know this former chief disciple, who was hailed as one of the 2 peerless talents on par with himself, a genius in swordsmanship. Well, since senior brother Hong established his foundation, he has been staying in Yunmeng's and hasn't returned. If you want to see him, you'll probably have to go to Yunmeng's to find him yourself. Unlike Zhou Wangshan Yi Yun, Hong He was not a disciple of the sect leader. He was aloof but exceptionally talented, proficient in body tempering, swordsmanship, formations, and puppetry. Like Chen Mobai, he was a person who focused on cultivation. Yunmeng Marsh is hailed as the #1 treasure land in the eastern wilderness, and cultivators who are confident in themselves will stay there for a long time. After all, the major chambers of commerce from the eastern continent have long been based in Fengyuwu, and would spend a lot of money to acquire the inner cores of demon beasts. That's such a pity. Chen Mobai could only sigh, then pretended that his injuries had not yet healed and coughed twice. Yunmeng's is too dangerous. He definitely won't go there without a good reason. Although Yuan Che went into seclusion, he had already completed most of the tasks that Yi Yun had instructed him to do before he left. The benefits for Foundation Establishment Elders of the Divine Wood Sect have already been claimed for Chen Mobai. One of the 12 divisions is the Spirit Vein Division. Although this department sounds like it's in charge of the sect's spiritual veins, in reality, in addition to the spiritual veins, it also manages the real estate and shops in Giant Wood Ridge, and the shops of the Divine Wood Sect in the major markets of the eastern wilderness. After Chen Mobai was upgraded to a Foundation Establishment Cultivator, the benefits he applied for were distributed by this department. However, you first need to go through the procedures at the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence. With Yi Yun, the sect leader's disciple, taking action, Chen Mobai completed all the formalities in less than a day. Inside the main hall of the Spirit Vein Department, There is a miniature light and shadow model of the giant wood ridge. My two senior uncles, the ones that are lit up here, mean they are already taken. You can choose the rest. A tall, ordinary-looking female chi refining cultivator respectfully led Yun and Chen Mobai here, pointing to the slightly transparent model floating in midair. Chen Mobai nodded and looked at it carefully. It was discovered that most of the courtyards and shops in Shenmue City had been lit up, and there were none left on the most bustling street in the city center. Our sect shouldn't have that many foundation establishment elders, right? When Yun saw that all 300 of the most bustling shops were lit up, he couldn't help but frown. He rented the shop directly to a senior brother and received a rent of 1,000 spirit stones per year. Indeed, there aren't that many elders, but the ownership of these 300 shops is all in order. If Uncle Yun has time, he can talk to our minister about it. The female cultivator from the spirit vein department wiped the sweat from her forehead and answered Yun's question with a hint of uncertainty. Are there any larger shops? Chen Mobai spoke up, which helped her out of the predicament. Yes, but the bigger the shop, the more remote the location. Uncle Chen, please take a look here. The female cultivator, who had cultivated qi, breathed a sigh of relief and immediately pointed to the southern part of Shenmue City. This place won't work. It's inhabited by ordinary people. No matter how big the shop is, it won't earn many spirit stones. Upon seeing this, Yun immediately shook his head. Shenmue City was originally a place for mortals to live in. After all, many cultivators have descendants, and some labor tasks also need to be done by mortals. Therefore, the sect opened up a plane here. However, as time went by and its popularity grew, it became what it is today. Let's take this biggest one. I'll probably open a rice shop or a tavern in the future, and I'll need a warehouse. It doesn't matter if the location is a bit remote. Chen Mobai chose the largest shop in the south of the city, which was nearly 1,000 square meters. Uncle Master has a good eye. This place was originally a granary, but later, in order to improve cleanliness, the sect leader promoted the use of fasting pills by ordinary people, so the granary was left vacant and was later converted into shops. After selecting the shops, Chen Mobai then chose a courtyard, using the excuse of needing to look after the shops, and selected a courtyard in the south of the city that covered more than 200 square meters. The main reason is for peace and quiet. After all, he is someone who can disappear at any time. Although he only comes to stay in this courtyard occasionally, if the neighbors are all foundation establishment cultivators, he may still be exposed over the years. Although Yun did not approve of Chen Mobai's choice, he did not interfere. Only the selection of the final place of cultivation, namely the cave dwelling of the third-order spiritual vein, began to become serious. Junior brother, these third-tier spiritual veins are also divided into upper, middle, and lower levels. For the sake of convenient cultivation, we absolutely cannot be careless. Uncle Master, all the top-grade third-tier spiritual veins were selected 20 years ago. As the female cultivator in the chi refining stage spoke, sweat broke out on her forehead again. Everyone wants the best spiritual veins, and it is because of this right that the disciples of the spiritual vein department have a high status in the sect. As the sect leader's disciple, Yun was given a third-grade high-quality spiritual vein cave by Meng Hong after he reached the foundation establishment stage. As for Zhou Wangshan, he was a descendant of Zhou Leiazu, so it goes without saying that Meng Hong would give him that opportunity. Although Chen Mobai is hailed as a peerless genius, if he wants a third-grade high-quality spiritual vein, he can only ask one of the foundation establishment elders to give it up. The spirit vein department would never dare to do something that would offend people. We don't have any top-grade ones, but we should still have some mid-grade third-tier ones. Yun was obviously aware of the trickery involved. His junior brother Chen was simple-minded and only thought about practicing swordsmanship and farming. He felt that if he hadn't come along, the spirit vein department would probably have been able to get rid of him with a low-grade third-tier cave dwelling. Yes, there are 7 more mid-grade third-tier cave dwellings. I'll mark them for you two senior uncles, and you can see which one is suitable." The chi refining female cultivator immediately extended her index finger and cast a light spell, marking out the 7 mid-grade third-level spiritual vein caves scattered throughout Giant Tree Ridge. Why are there so many spirit fields here? Chen Mobai looked around again and discovered that around one of the spiritual veins, there was a large expanse of empty plains, which seemed to be abandoned spiritual lands. The former minister of the spirit plant department tried to cultivate third-grade spirit rice here and reclaimed 60 acres of spirit fields. After he passed away, this place was abandoned. The female cultivator at the chi refining stage was able to work in the spirit vein department, indicating she possessed a certain level of skill. She answered Chen Mobai's question without hesitation. Third-grade spirit rice. Could it be that this spirit vein cave was previously more than just a mid-grade third-grade one? To cultivate third-tier spirit fields, some of the essence of the spirit vein needs to be consumed. If the 60 acres of spirit fields are all third-tier spirit fields, then the original grade of this spirit vein must have been quite high. As expected of Uncle Chen from the spirit plant department, this Zionan mountain was originally a fourth-order spirit vein, but in order to cultivate 60 acres of spirit fields, its grade was reduced to the middle grade of the third order. Zionanchan. Chen Mobai thought the name sounded very nice and suited his low-key personality. He looked at it again and again, feeling that this spiritual vein was a perfect match for him. Let's do it here. Yun also knew Chen Mobai's personality. He only cared about practicing swordsmanship and farming. Although the spiritual vein of Zionan Mountain was considered low-grade among the 7 third-tier mid-grade spiritual veins, it was still surrounded by so many spiritual fields. Uncle Chen, we will allocate Zionanchan to you, but you will need to go to the spirit plant department to handle the cultivation rights for those 60 acres of spirit fields yourself. The female cultivator who was practicing chi cultivation gave him a heads-up beforehand, and Chen Mobai expressed his gratitude. He still has some influence with the spirit plant department. I'll go with you. I know your deputy minister Jin from the spirit plant department. Yun went the extra mile, helping Chen Mobai obtain Zionanchan, and then going with him to the main hall of the spirit plant department. Upon arrival, Yun went to see Jin Shamping, while Chen Mobai went to pay his respects to Sun Gayachang. Uncle Master Chen. On Sun Gayachang's side, Lu Jun was also there. When he saw Chen Mobai, he almost couldn't change his way of addressing him. With the announcement that the Divine Tree Secret Realm was about to open, almost everyone knew that a true disciple had successfully established his foundation. With a little inquiry, we can find out who it is. However, when Lu Jun actually saw Chen Mobai successfully establish his foundation, he was still filled with emotion. The image of that boy who had just come out of Xinjiang, receiving rice seeds with a heavy heart, and cultivating the spiritual fields was still in his mind. In the blink of an eye, this young man had achieved a breakthrough that he could never have accomplished in his lifetime. Senior brother Lu, it's been a long time. Chen Mobai, however, was not used to the seniority system based on cultivation level here, and still addressed him as senior brother. No one thought it was a big deal. It was usually like this when someone first broke through, and after 10 or 20 years they would get used to it. You finally made it home in glory. I thought you wouldn't want to stay in the spirit plant department after you reached foundation establishment. The chubby son Gayachang was very happy that Chen Mobai was the first person to visit him, and specially opened a pot of wine to entertain him. This wine was bought from Chen Mobai. No, I have no other hobbies in this life except farming and brewing wine. Even if I become the sect leader, I will not leave the spirit plant department. Chen Mobai's words surprised Sun Gayacheng slightly, but he just took it as a metaphor. Have you chosen a spiritual vein? I know of a cave dwelling that, although only a third-grade low-level one, has 20 acres of medicinal fields cultivated at the foot of the mountain. After you acquire it, I'll work on things a bit more, and you'll get both the cave dwelling and the medicinal fields. Even if you don't manage them yourself, You can sublet them to sect disciples and earn at least 1,000 sect contribution points every year. I was just about to bring this up with Inspector Sun. Since Sun Gaecheng brought it up, Chen Mobai explained his purpose in detail. Xianenshan is indeed the most suitable place for you. As an inspector of the spirit plant department, Sun Gaecheng naturally knew about the abandoned spirit fields near Zionan Mountain. After thinking about it, he understood why Chen Mobai chose this place and couldn't help but clap his hands in approval. Lu Jun, pass on my orders and get this matter settled. Before junior brother Chen and I finish this pot of wine and leave, transfer the cultivation rights of those 60 acres of spirit fields to his name for the next 10 years. Yes, Inspector. Sun Gaecheng's straightforwardness made Chen Mobai feel a little embarrassed. Previously, when I didn't have enough sect contribution points to exchange for foundation establishment pills, I had to borrow from him to make up the shortfall. By this time, he no longer held any grudges about being tricked into joining the spirit plant department by Lu Jun, although Sun Gaecheng's attitude only improved after he showed his talent. Chen Mobai was still indebted to him for becoming a true disciple and obtaining the foundation establishment pill so quickly. He was determined to farm diligently and generate better profits for the plant department. By the way, junior brother Chen, our spirit plant department is a department under the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence. After you establish your foundation, you can also join the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence if you wish. Towards the end of the drinking session, Sun Gaecheng suddenly made this remark. Chen Mobai was about to casually agree, but then he thought of Yi Yun and realized that since he was nominally Yi Yun's man, he should still ask for his opinion. He told Sun Gaecheng the truth, and the latter, still smiling, politely saw him out the door. When he left, Lu Jun had already settled the matter of the cultivation rights for the 60 mu of spiritual land. That evening, I talked to Yi Yun about this matter, and the latter smiled slightly and gave a guess. The Hall Master of the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence and my Master are the only two Foundation Establishment Perfection cultivators in the Divine Wood sect. If my Master resigns to become a core formation cultivator, he is a strong contender to succeed as the sect leader. You mean? If he becomes the sect leader, the Hall of Rewards will need a successor, and I guess he has his eye on you. Chen Mobai remained silent, but I was worried inside. What to do? It seems that his persona as a genius is becoming more and more deeply ingrained in people's minds. End of this chapter. Chapter 233, Taking on Disciples. Chapter 233, Taking on Disciples. Spiritual Energy Value, 581. Standing atop a misty mountain peak, Chen Mobai looked at the spiritual vein level displayed on his phone screen and nodded slightly. Although Xianenshan is considered to be on the verge of falling from the middle grade of the third rank, it actually still has a lot of room for improvement. In addition to the main peak where he is located, there are 5 other slightly lower peaks nearby. Standing on the mountaintop, looking down, a winding path stretched from the foot of the mountain all the way here. It seemed that no one had come to clean or maintain it for a long time, and the mountain was full of boulders with slightly rounded edges, eroded by rainwater. There were vigorous red sun trees growing among the rocks, and occasionally some weeds growing haphazardly in the cracks. Chen Mobai also saw 2 bright red flowers. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a kind of medicinal herb called golden lantern flower, which can replenish vital energy and treat snake and insect bites after consumption. Uncle Master Chen. At that moment, 2 people came walking along the path at the foot of the mountain. The man and woman were Liu Wenbai and Zhuo Ming, who had joined the Shenmu sect from Nangxi Market in Yun Kingdom with Chen Mobai. Yes, thank you for your hard work. Liu Wenbai not only came alone, but also brought a lot of mortals with him. These were the people Chen Mobai hired to reclaim the 60 acres of spiritual fields near Xianenshan. Uncle Master Chen, the jade sprout spirit rice on Zioying Ridge will not be ready for harvest for a while. I have already instructed junior brother Wang and junior brother Feng to keep a close eye on rainfall and pest control. I will also go over to check on it from time to time. As Zhuo Ming spoke, Her little face was filled with excitement as she looked at Zio Nanshan. Although the mountain wasn't high, the rich spiritual energy was something she could truly feel, and she increasingly felt that siding with Chen Mobai was the best decision she had ever made in her life. If I had known this back in Nangxi Market, I should have bowed down and paid my respects. Maybe I would be a disciple by now. Uncle Master Chen, you have just established your foundation. Zionan Mountain is a vast and sparsely populated place, and we need a disciple who can handle miscellaneous tasks. I wonder if I am fortunate enough to become your disciple. Zhuo Ming was shy and was still figuring out how to bring up the matter, while Liu Wenbai, who was experienced in many things, shamelessly asked to become his apprentice. This was the first time Chen Mobai had encountered such a situation, and he was caught off guard. He himself is still a student and hasn't graduated yet, so I feel he's not capable enough to take on apprentices. However, he remembered that the relationship between the master and disciple in the Heavenly River realm was different from that of the immortal sect. Here, the master-disciple relationship was based more on reliance than on inheritance. Moreover, Liu Wenbai's words made sense. It would indeed be difficult for him to manage the cultivation of these 60 acres of spiritual fields by himself in the future. He would definitely need to train some capable disciples. But compared to Liu Wenbai, he felt that Zhuo Ming was more suitable. After all, she came to Zioying Ridge after the last sect competition, and Chen Mobai had already trained her in professional knowledge. After 6 months of practice, she basically knew the planting process of jade sprout spirit rice like the back of her hand. But since Zhuo Ming herself didn't take the initiative to speak up, Chen Mobai felt embarrassed to accept her as a disciple. Since you are currently working under senior brother Yi Yun, if I were to take you as my disciple, I would need to ask him first. This is actually what Uncle Master Yi Yun meant. He said that a genius like you, Master, should focus on cultivation, and the rest of the miscellaneous tasks can be taken care of by your disciple. Upon hearing this, Liu Wenbai knew that Chen Mobai had agreed, and his face lit up with joy as he bowed deeply. Uncle Chen, why don't you take me in as well? Seeing this, Zhuo Ming blushed with anxiety. If she had known it would be this easy, she should have become an apprentice immediately after the sect competition 6 months ago. All right, taking 1 or 2 is the same. You two can be considered as nominal disciples for now. When I come out of the Divine Tree secret realm, the Jade Sprout Spirit wine I brewed last year will be ready to be opened. I will invite senior brother Qi and other friends over then, and you can formally become my disciples. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai readily agreed. Greetings, Master. Liu Wenbai and Zhuo Ming immediately bowed, thus establishing the master-disciple relationship among the three. Consider these 2 Crimson Flame Sword talismans as a small gift. Chen Mobai took out 2 talismans he had drawn, and his 2 apprentices accepted them happily without hesitation. He was also thinking about what kind of apprenticeship gift he should prepare when he formally became an apprentice. Let me talk about the confusion you have in your cultivation. Although I haven't been cultivating for as long as you, I have been ahead of you and have some unique understanding of the longevity scripture. That's just being modest. Among all cultivators in the entire Divine Wood sect, he was the one who had the deepest understanding of the longevity scripture. After all, with the help of the puppet deduction and the effects of the enlightenment pill, his understanding of this technique in the qi refining stage was almost comparable to that of the sage who created it. Yes, Master. Liu Wenbai and Zhuo Ming spoke at the same time, then looked at each other and realized that they hadn't decided who was older or younger. Wenbai, you go first. From now on, you'll be the senior brother. Upon hearing this, Zhuo Ming's face flushed with regret, realizing that she had missed her chance to become the senior sister. Master, I cultivate the longevity scripture and the crimson flame sword technique at the same time. The former has long been at the 8th level of qi refining, but the latter is stuck at the 6th level of qi refining. It is precisely because of this that I have been unable to complete the 2-stage rotation. The ultimate move of the 2 phases technique can only be used after each person has cultivated their qi to the 7th level. If the longevity scripture and the crimson flame sword technique are both at the 8th level of qi refining, then using the two-phase reincarnation technique can grant one the power of the 9th level of qi refining in a short period of time. Of course, this technique can only improve one's cultivation level slightly. It cannot break through the bottleneck between qi refining and foundation establishment. Infuse me with a wisp of your spiritual power. Although Liu Wenbai didn't understand why, he obediently did as he was told. Chen Mobai raised the spirit testing instrument he had been covering with his palm and examined his disciple's spiritual root. Liu Wenbo, metal 13, wood 27, water 28, fire 22, earth 10. How old are you this year? I'll be 30 at the end of the year. Liu Wenbai answered truthfully that at his age, being able to cultivate the longevity scripture to the 8th level of qi refining, especially while simultaneously using the two-phase technique, was already quite remarkable. It's not too late to switch cultivation methods. You're not suited to the crimson flame sword technique, but you can use the two phases technique to combine the water and wood qi cultivation methods. However, this is ultimately a matter of your life, so you'll have to make the decision yourself. After saying this, Chen Mobai asked Liu Wenbai some questions about cultivating the longevity scripture. It was discovered that, although he had reached the 8th level of qi refining in this technique, he had basically relied on spirit stones and pills to force his way up, and his understanding of the essence of the technique was limited to a few spells suitable for combat. Chen Mobai had Liu Wenbai circulate his spiritual energy again. Although he did not use the formless puppet to deduce it, based on his experience and insight, he still pointed out more than a dozen areas for improvement when Liu circulated his energy. Thank you for your guidance, Master. Following Chen Mobai's instructions, Liu Wenbai reactivated his longevity spiritual power and discovered that his speed and efficiency in refining spiritual energy had increased by half. He was greatly shocked and sincerely bowed deeply to his newly acquainted teacher. In the heavenly river realm, the transmission of knowledge and experience is highly valued. Only those who are the heirs or blood relatives will teach them so unreservedly. Chen Mobai's actions made his two disciples feel that he was truly treating them as his successors, not just as two laborers. Well, you can temporarily stop cultivating the crimson flame sword technique and raise the longevity scripture to the 9th level of qi refining. That way, you can try to compete for the position of true disciple. Yi Yun and Yuan Che had originally intended to groom Liu Wenbai as a true successor to their faction. After all, Chen Mobai, the originally designated leader, had only served as the chief disciple for half a year before successfully establishing his foundation. It was simply too fast. If Yuan Che also successfully establishes his foundation, then their faction will only have one other true disciple from the Spirit Beast department, which is a bit too few people. Teacher, what about me? My aptitude is average. I have no intention of cultivating the two phases technique. I only hope to obtain a foundation establishment pill in my lifetime. After Zhuo Ming transferred the spiritual energy, she noticed that Chen Mobai was looking at her with a solemn expression, raising his palm. She thought that the spiritual energy she had cultivated was too weak, which made the teacher very dissatisfied. When you had your spirit tested in the market, you seemed to have 3 spiritual roots, right? Chen Mobai suddenly asked a question. That's right, I remember it very clearly. It was blue, black, and yellow. Zhuo Ming will never forget the scene of measuring her spiritual root in Nangxi Market. Although she wasn't as talented as the teacher in front of her, who was almost a top-tier dual spiritual root, her ordinary dual spiritual root was already very satisfying for this rogue cultivator. After listening, Chen Mobai looked at the results displayed on the palm-based spirit testing device with a strange expression. Zhuo Ming, metal 3, wood 20, water 21, fire 9, earth 47. The attribute points for this earth elemental root take up nearly half of the screen. To avoid any measurement error, he had Zhuo Ming transfer a stream of spiritual energy to him. However, the result was exactly the same, and perhaps the emotions were a little volatile, with a little less metal and a little more fire. but Earth 47 remains completely unchanged. This child is born to farm. Have you ever considered switching to Earth attribute cultivation techniques? Zhuo Ming had been cultivating the 100 Herbs Classic, passed down by her father since she was a child. After entering the sect, she also switched to cultivating the Longevity Classic of the same attribute. She felt that she was suited to the wood attribute cultivation method. However, Chen Mobai now says that she is suited to Earth attribute cultivation techniques. This was something she found hard to accept at first. With 3 spiritual roots, your aptitude is already above average, yet you've been stuck at the 6th level of qi refining for 4 years. I think your physique isn't suited to the longevity scripture. Chen Mobai was simply telling the truth. As for whether Zhuo Ming, as her disciple, was willing to give up the wood attribute cultivation technique she had practiced for nearly 20 years, that was up to her to decide. Like Liu Wenbai, he also gave Zhuo Ming some pointers on the longevity scripture and found that, although her cultivation level was low, her foundation was very solid. After running through the entire cycle, Chen Mobai could only find 5 or 6 problems, but even so, it made Zhuo Ming's longevity spiritual power flow more smoothly, and even the bottleneck of the 6th level of qi refining, which had originally been stuck and could not be broken through, showed signs of loosening. But this only made Zhuo Ming more conflicted. After Chen Mobai's guidance, she felt that she could break through to the 7th level of qi refining in another year or 2 of cultivation. If I switch to cultivating Earth attribute techniques, since it's not the same type of spiritual power, I don't know how many years it will take. Teacher, I'm just offering a suggestion, just like Wenbo. After all, this concerns your entire life, and you need to make the decision yourself. After instructing his 2 disciples, Chen Mobai looked at the sun, which had been rising but was now high in the sky, indicating that it was noon. He also planned to study the longevity scripture and crimson flame sword technique of the Foundation Establishment chapter himself, and waved his hand to dismiss the 2 disciples who were deep in thought. This disciple takes his leave. The 2 immediately turned around and prepared to leave, etc. But at this moment, Chen Mobai suddenly remembered something and called out to his 2 disciples. Master, what are your orders? I need to wait within the sect for the Divine Tree secret realm to open. I happen to have 2 things to do, so please help me with them. Yes. Liu Wenbai and Zhuo Ming exchanged a glance and nodded in unison, seemingly quite happy. When there is trouble, the disciples will do the work. In the Heavenly River realm, the privilege of having your teacher assign you tasks is reserved for your closest disciples. Before I joined the sect, I had a water mansion in the Yun Kingdom where I planted some spiritual plants that are about to ripen. Could you help me harvest them? Chen Mobai took out a piece of white paper and drew a simple map. In any case, he had already taken away the most valuable high-grade spirit stone in the water mansion, and he had also raised the green Paulonia seedling on the Chicheng mountain. The remaining Solomon seal was originally intended for sustainable development, but now that Chen Mobai's cultivation level has increased, he feels it's not worth the effort to keep thinking about it, so he might as well just harvest it directly. Wenbai, I remember you're from the Spirit Beast department, right? I need some second-tier Xuanling rabbit fur to make talisman brushes. Go and find out how many spirit stones are needed or which elder you should speak to. Let me know when you have any news. After giving his instructions on the 2 matters, Chen Mobai finally had some peace and quiet. He activated a wooden house talisman on the summit of Xiaonanchan Mountain, then entered and sat on a futon to read the follow-up chapters of the longevity scripture he had just obtained from the library. There are 4 floors in total, starting from the 11th floor and ending at the 14th floor. They represent the early, middle, late, and perfect stages of foundation building, respectively. This final 14th level, besides the completion of foundation establishment, also contains the cultivation method from foundation establishment to core formation. Theoretically, the longevity scripture in Chen Mobai's possession is enough for him to use the 2-phase technique to form his core. According to Yi Yun, this cultivation technique has 20 levels, and can be cultivated up to the mid-stage of the nascent soul realm. However, even the most powerful cultivator in the Divine Wood sect, Patriarch Joe, had only reached the 17th level. After reconciling with the Five Elements sect, this patriarch has been in seclusion, attempting to break through to the 18th level, achieve the perfection of the golden core, and then try to form the nascent soul. Since he was already a foundation establishment elder, Chen Mobai's longevity scripture also had corresponding cultivation techniques. What he was most interested in was naturally the heavenly wood divine light array, which was said to expand into a domain. However, to cultivate this formation, one needs a tree seed. This tree species was refined from a spirit tree. The most complete system in the Divine Wood sect is the first-tier Crimson Sun Spirit Tree, the second-tier Azure Sun Spirit Tree, and the third-tier Golden Sun Spirit Tree. As for the fourth-tier Spirit Trees, there are only 3 divine trees in the entire giant tree ridge, which even the 2 golden core ancestors could not refine. End of this chapter. Chapter 234, Cultivation Technique. Chapter 234, Cultivation Technique. There weren't originally so many spirit trees in the giant tree ridge area. It took more than 6,000 years after the One Yuan True Lord transplanted the 3 divine trees to create such a magnificent scene. The 3 divine trees are called the longevity trees, because the spiritual veins of giant tree ridge contain the elements of earth and fire. They have multiplied and formed the unique 3 yang spirit trees of giant tree ridge. Chen Mobai was most familiar with the first-tier Crimson Sun spirit tree. When he first joined the Divine Wood sect, he earned a large sum of spirit stones by cutting down trees and chopping firewood at the new Sprout Hall. This spiritual tree grows the fastest. While other trees are used for firewood, the bark and leaves can be used to make talismans. Second-tier Azure Sun spirit trees are extremely precious. Generally speaking, only 1 out of 10,000 Crimson Sun spirit trees might advance to the Azure Sun spirit tree tier. This spirit tree has many more uses. Besides being used for firewood and talismans, its sap is also a second-tier spiritual medicine. Moreover, because the trees absorbed enough earth and fire energies during their metamorphosis and neutralized their own wood spiritual energy, their spiritual power is gentle and stable, making them first-class materials for refining artifacts. The divine wood sword that Chen Mobai borrowed before was made from Qingyang spirit wood, and the second-tier puppets of the Divine Wood sect are basically all made from this material. If an ordinary person wears a piece of Qingyang wood, they can be immune to cold and free from all diseases. The Qingyang spirit tree advances to the 3rd tier, becoming the Golden Yang spirit tree. This transformation of the spirit tree is extremely demanding. It is caused by the imbalance of the 3 attributes of earth, wood, and fire within its body. The fire element absorbs and devours the other 2 elements, eventually transforming into a wisp of Qingyang fire, which in turn burns the tree's original body. The Qingyang spirit tree that can withstand this tribulation will be able to transform into a 3rd-tier tree. However, in the thousands of years of giant tree ridge, the Qingyang spirit tree that can nurture fire without turning to ashes is 1 in a million. Azure Yang fire, a spiritual fire born from within trees, could this be fire within wood? Upon seeing this, Chen Mobai recalled a TV series he had watched as a child, about a little fairy who had lived in her mother's womb for 3 years and then became a disciple of a sage after causing trouble. The little immortal gathered 3 kinds of spiritual fire, fire from wood, fire from stone, and fire from the sky, and cultivated them into an extremely terrifying immortal technique, Samadhi true fire. This fire is so powerful it can burn mountains and boil rocks, and nothing is immune to its flames. It is extremely domineering. However, since the extraction of fire from wood requires burning a lot of forest resources, which is very environmentally unfriendly, it was explicitly prohibited from cultivation by the immortal sects 1,000 years ago. However, on the giant tree ridge side, because the Crimson Sun spirit tree grows and reproduces very rapidly, The Divine Tree sect even has to issue tree-cutting tasks at the Spirit Treasure Pavilion for a long time. Chen Mobai immediately took out his phone. Using the alternate account of Turtle Immortal, I opened the Immortal Sect spell repository that I had already taken over, entered Samadhi True Fire, and actually got results. Unfortunately, the immortal arts were divine abilities gleaned from the heavenly book. To avoid wasting time for the immortals, downloading and viewing them required fourth-level access. Even the software that Turtle Immortal used to represent the immortals was only for third-level users. Chen Mobai looked regretful. Even if he downloaded the Samadhi True Fire, immortal technique, he certainly wouldn't be able to cultivate it given his current level of cultivation. Putting that matter aside for the time being, Chen Mobai turned his attention to the key element of the heavenly wood divine light array, the tree seed. Refining tree seeds is a lucrative business in the divine tree sect, given that they have the most disciples practicing the longevity scripture. Without the right tree species, to unleash the full power of this technique, one cannot leave the location of the spirit tree, which is too inconvenient. The cheapest Crimson Sun tree species are of the first rank. Lower rank species can be bought for just 20 spirit stones. After all, Crimson Sun spirit trees are everywhere, so even if you fail to condense the tree seed, the loss is not a pity. But the second-tier Azure Sun spirit tree is different. The spirit tree that Chen Mobai and Qi Rui guarded with Wang Yuanwu on Qingguang Island in the past was the Qingyang spirit tree. This spiritual tree is the greatest resource for the Divine Wood sect in opening up markets and even fighting. Transplanting 36 complete trees is enough to set up a large-scale, heavenly wood divine light array. Large-scale formations draw upon the essence of the earth's veins below and connect with the primordial energy of heaven and earth above, enabling the condensation of the most powerful, heavenly wood divine light in the longevity scripture. Chen Mobai had personally witnessed the power of the heavenly wood divine light. The second-tier monster was hit head-on and instantly vaporized. For this reason, every Qingyang spirit tree is a strategic resource of the divine wood sect. Not to mention refining tree seeds, losing any one of them could lead to the sect holding them accountable. However, Chen Mobai is now a foundation establishment cultivator, and for him, a first-tier Crimson Sun tree is only good for practice. However, the price of second-tier Qingyang tree species within the sect varies from 2,000 to tens of thousands of spirit stones, depending on the quality. After all, there is still a huge gap between two second-order units. A top-tier second-tier Azure Sun spirit tree is already capable of condensing Azure Sun flame. Within the Lingbao Pavilion, there are long-standing missions to acquire Qingyang fire seeds, with a minimum investment of 10,000 spirit stones. Even at such high prices, every time Qingyang tree seeds and Qingyang fire seeds are put on the market, they are instantly sold out. Chen Mobai recalled the sect competition, where his opponent, Mu Yuan, seemed to possess a second-tier Qingyang tree seed. However, under the overwhelming pressure of Chen Mobai's sword Qi, Mu Yuan was utterly defeated. Looking back now, Mu Yuan truly deserves to be the sect leader's disciple. If he hadn't suddenly appeared out of nowhere, he would have been the top disciple in last year's sect competition. We're still too poor. Chen Mobai counted the spirit stones in his storage bag. After deducting the ones needed for cultivating the 3 yang body, he only had 5 mid-grade spirit stones and 107 low-grade spirit stones left. Sure enough, the next step besides cultivation is still to earn spirit stones. Or should I cultivate the method of refining tree seeds myself? After thinking it over carefully, Chen Mobai shook his head. After establishing a foundation, the primary goal is definitely to improve one's cultivation level. Next, he will focus his main efforts on farming, since the 60 acres of spiritual land on Zionan Mountain cannot be wasted. Moreover, the Longevity Sutra also states that when practicing this method, if it is combined with farming or cultivating spiritual plants, the two will complement each other and achieve twice the result with half the effort. If he still had extra energy after farming, Chen Mobai decided to work hard to improve his swordsmanship. After all, his current persona is that of an unparalleled sword genius. He has to work hard in case his persona really comes true. After swordsmanship comes puppetry. Although Chi Yucheng said that as long as the tradition is passed down, that's enough, Chen Mobai felt that as a disciple, he couldn't let his teacher down. Besides these, there's also making talismans and brewing wine to earn spirit stones. After all, everything is inseparable from spirit stones. Cultivation, farming, swordsmanship, puppetry, talismans. Thinking about it this way, I'm glad I've already successfully established my foundation. With 4 Jayasi, 60 years of lifespan, plus the extra Jayasi from the longevity scripture, I'll have at least 300 years of lifespan. Otherwise, with so much distraction, it's unlikely that I'll be able to cultivate both techniques to the foundation establishment stage. Besides the strongest heavenly wood divine light, the scripture of immortality also includes defensive techniques such as spirit leaf technique and vitality technique, as well as offensive techniques such as ye wood divine thunder, heavenly whirlwind wood arrow, boundless falling leaves, divine wood sword slash, and Jia wood Dao soldier, among others. Without exception, these spells can all be refined into the heavenly wood divine light array, and their power is multiplied when combined with the array. We still need to find a way to get a tree seed. After reading the scripture of immortality, Chen Mobai couldn't help but shake his head. If I can't afford a Tier 2 one, I'll get a Tier 1 Crimson Sun tree for now. He took out a message talisman, wrote a few lines of text on it, and sent it to Liu Wenbai. He wouldn't waste his time. His disciple was out on business anyway, so if it was convenient, they could take care of it together on the way. At that moment, he felt that taking on an apprentice seemed like a really good idea. Next, he opened the Crimson Flame Sword Manual. This fire attribute cultivation technique is much simpler than the flashy longevity scripture. Both methods involve cultivating to the 14th level of foundation establishment and achieving the core formation stage. Besides realms, there are talisman techniques and sword techniques, which can be used interchangeably. Following the Crimson Flame Sword Talisman is the second-tier mid-grade Purple Flame Sword Talisman, and the second-tier high-grade Azure Sun Flame Sword Talisman. Among these, if the Azure Sun Fire Sword Talisman is cultivated to its peak, it can also possess the power of a third-tier low-grade weapon, even if it is beyond one's level. Above that, there is the third-tier mid-grade Azure Flame Sword Talisman, the third-tier high-grade Golden Flame Sword Talisman, and the only fourth-tier Great Sun Sword Talisman. However, these sword talismans are all recorded in the Core Formation chapter, while the Foundation Establishment chapter in Chen Mobai's possession only contains the names. The Foundation Establishment chapter of the Crimson Flame Sword Technique also records the 2 sword cultivation realms following the Sword Chi like a rainbow stage. Sword Rainbow Splitting Light, and Sword Light Condensing Evil. Crimson Sword Rainbow, Purple Fire Sword Light, Azure Flame Sword Aura. The upgrade and enhancement steps are clear at a glance. It has to be said that the things related to combat in the Tian realm are so perfect that even Chen Mobai couldn't help but marvel. The cultivators here basically devote all their energy to this aspect. Chen Mobai's pure Yang spiritual power possesses the characteristics of all fire attribute spiritual power, so he can easily use pure Yang spiritual power to drive all the talismanic techniques and sword techniques of the Crimson Flame sword art, and may even make them more powerful. He decided to spend some time learning this technique, at least to master the Crimson Flame sword rainbow. After all, he is now an unparalleled genius in swordsmanship. After reading the 2 Shenmue sect cultivation techniques, Chen Mobai closed his eyes and pondered for a while, then took out a box of incense. This is a second-tier incense he bought on the Immortal sect website, to be used for cultivating the second level of the divine control technique. I don't know what trials await in the divine tree secret realm. I should first master the dividing the mind and transforming thoughts technique so that I can use my main body to attack while controlling the formless puppet in battle. In a 2-on-1 situation where both players are at the same level, there's no way he could possibly lose. Since it was inconvenient for Chen Mobai to leave Xiaonanshan during this period, he and Qi Yucheng asked for another month's leave, using the excuse of cultivating the divine control technique. After asking a few questions, Qi Yucheng immediately signed and approved the leave. There's only one requirement: don't fail any courses by the end of the year. Chen Mobai was not worried about this at all, because after reaching the foundation establishment stage, his spiritual sense had far surpassed that of Qi refining cultivators. After reading the first-order knowledge and thinking about it once, one can understand it. The second-order knowledge is a bit more difficult, but as long as one is serious, one will not have the same difficulty in understanding it as before. After reading it 2 or 3 times, one will understand it. Therefore, after reaching the foundation establishment stage, the instructors at the Dance Weapon Academy no longer really require them to attend classes. However, since credits can be exchanged for many precious items in the Tao Academy's treasury, senior foundation establishment students sign up for many major and minor courses every year. However, they do not attend classes. They only appear during the final exams. The Taoist temple tacitly approved of this. After all, many of the instructors themselves are only at the foundation establishment stage. Night. Chen Mobai's 2 newly accepted apprentices have returned. Master, here is the rabbit fur you requested. I spoke with senior brother Joe from the Spirit Beast department, and they happen to have some in stock. They gave me a box for just 10 spirit stones. Liu Wenbai handed over a box made of red yang wood. Chen Mobai took it and opened it, finding it filled with slender, straight, white rabbit fur that shimmered faintly with a spiritual light. Thanks for your hard work. Chen Mobai sensed the spirituality within and found it to be of very high quality, possibly cut from a second-tier superior Xuanling rabbit. This is what we should do. By the way, Master, I happen to have 2 more first-tier tree seeds that you requested. Can you take a look and see if they are acceptable? If not, I will go to the spirit plant department in Shenmu City to buy some more. Is this tree species sold by the spirit plant department? Hearing Liu Wenbai's words, Chen Mobai was surprised, but after thinking about it, he realized that this thing should indeed be classified as a spiritual plant. If I had known this would happen, I would have just asked Sun Gaecheng or Lu Jun. Refining tree species requires knowledge of spiritual plants, talisman making, pill refining, and weapon crafting. Anyone in the sect can refine first-tier tree species, but second-tier Qingyang tree species require permission from the spiritual plant department. Privately refined tree species are definitely not as high quality as those sold by the spiritual plant department. After answering the question, Liu Wenbai presented a dull, dark red piece of wood about the size of a thumb. This is a first-order Crimson Sun tree species. After Chen Mobai took it in his hand, he felt it and found that the small piece was indeed full of vitality. He felt that as long as he infused it with spiritual power, he could instantly make it grow into a towering tree. Teacher, using tree seeds with the heavenly wood talisman can save time and spiritual energy when activating them. At this moment, Liu Wenbai handed over another heavenly wood talisman, and Chen Mobai couldn't help but give him a thumbs up in his heart. This apprentice is sensible and much more understanding than Zhuo Ming, who just stands by. Not bad, Wenbai, you've worked hard. Please accept this mid-grade spirit stone. The quality of this tree species was quite good. With the addition of the heavenly wood talisman and rabbit fur, it came to about 100 spirit stones. Chen Mobai naturally wouldn't let his disciple pay for it, so he reimbursed him on the spot. Liu Wenbai declined for a moment, but eventually accepted it at Chen Mobai's prompting. Teacher, my junior sister and I have discussed things at the Water Mansion. You can't be left without someone to serve you. It just so happens that I haven't been home for 2 years since I joined the sect, so I'll go to the Yun Kingdom myself, and my junior sister can stay at Xiaonan Mountain. Chen Mobai listened and agreed, thinking it made sense. Well, after Wenbai leaves, Zhuo Ming, you'll have to work hard for a while. I'm going into seclusion to cultivate a new spell, so you'll be in charge of managing Xiaonan Mountain. Yes, Master. Zhuo Ming, finally able to reveal her presence, immediately stood up and answered loudly with all her might. After the two left, Chen Mobai set up a second-tier array on the mountain top, which he had obtained from the spirit plant department, before beginning to cultivate the second level of the divine control technique. Within his sea of consciousness, the jade parasol tree he had visualized after perfecting the nourishing mind and forging spirit technique had already blossomed and borne fruit. He lit the incense and felt a cool breeze flow into his mind through his mouth and nose. Just as he was about to split the jade parasol tree in two using the method of splitting divine consciousness, a flash of inspiration suddenly struck him. He cut off the root of the blooming sycamore flower at the top. End of this chapter. Chapter 230, 5. The Fruit of the Tree of Immortality. Chapter 230, 5. The Fruit of the Tree of Immortality. The second level of the divine control technique, divine separation and thought transformation, requires splitting one's own divine consciousness. Chen Mobai had searched for related information online. According to cultivators, this kind of pain was beyond the endurance of ordinary people. It's like being hit hard on the head with a stick. Even with incense, it takes a month to recover from the weakness caused by the split consciousness. Although he was very confident in himself, Chen Mobai still had some worries about the unknown and intense pain. Therefore, before formally splitting his consciousness, he felt it would be better to conduct a small experiment first. It must be very painful to split the spiritually formed cypress seedling in two. Picking a flower or fruit from it first should be less painful, right? As Chen Mobai was thinking this, his consciousness stirred slightly, and he felt as if he had been pricked by a fine needle on his forehead, the pain almost imperceptible. Then the flower and fruit fell from the top of the pine seedling and planted on the edge of the purple mansion sea of consciousness. The divine control technique was activated, and the nourishing effects of the incense began to take effect. Chen Mobai saw the flower and fruit of the green Paulownia seedling turn into seeds in the shortest time, and then begin to take root and sprout, growing 1, 2, or 3 tender buds. This means that the divine consciousness he separated from him has grown to the level of the 8th level of qi refining in a short period of time. However, the original main divine consciousness was almost undamaged, only weakened by about 10% or 20%. But it is still at the foundation building stage. Compared to what those who practiced the divine control technique before said, that they suffered severe damage to their vital energy, blurred consciousness, and unbearable pain, he felt as if he had just finished exercising and worked up a sweat. Although he didn't know the underlying principle, Chen Mobai stopped splitting his divine consciousness and continued to observe the sapling that had grown from the original green Paulownia seedling and fruit. 2 weeks later, Chen Mobai sat upright in the wooden house, facing the faceless puppet. The feeling of looking into each other's eyes and seeing oneself is very novel. The second level of the divine control technique, dividing the spirit into thoughts, has been mastered. Although he didn't know the reason, Chen Mobai didn't delve into it. Anyway, the result was good, and there was no period of weakness. He guessed that it might be the flowers and fruits of the jade phoenix tree, which are spiritual medicines that enhance spiritual awareness. For example, the clear fire pill is made with these as the main ingredient. So by sheer chance, he used the spirit of the green Paulownia seedlings, flowers, and fruits to create a secret to cultivating the art of controlling the spirit. Next, all you need to do is nurture this newly grown sapling again until it blossoms and bears fruit. Then you can cultivate the third level of the divine control technique, merging with the divine and returning to one. Since he was already at the foundation establishment level and his main divine sense was not weakened, he only needed to focus his energy on improving the divine sense of the new sapling, which would probably take at most 2 or 3 years to complete. If one were to take elixirs, the time could potentially be reduced by half. Just as he was preparing to try out the tactic of attacking from both the formless puppet and his own body again, a sound transmission talisman flew to the door. It was his apprentice Zhuo Ming knocking on the door. Since he had said before going into seclusion that he was going to practice magic, Zhuo Ming would definitely not come to disturb him unless it was something important. Therefore, Chen Mobai immediately stopped his cultivation, withdrew the divine consciousness attached to the formless puppet, and got up to activate the formation. "I'm sorry to bother you, Master." "It's all right, but is there something wrong?" "Senior brother Yuan." "No, Uncle Yuan has successfully established his foundation. Uncle Yun has sent a message to invite you to celebrate together." This is good news. As someone from the same faction, Chen Mobai should indeed make the trip. "Okay, go to Zioyang Ridge and dig up a jar of spirit wine that I buried last year. Come with me." "Yes, Master." Night. Chen Mobai brought his apprentice to Shenmu City. It was still the same courtyard in Ayan. Under the large tree in the center of the courtyard, the three sat around a small square table, drinking and chatting happily. "I owe my successful foundation establishment this time to Senior Brother E's Heavenly Cicada Spirit Leaf. It's just a pity." Chen Mobai arrived late and only learned the reason after hearing Yuan Che's explanation. Originally, even though he had made ample preparations, he had only managed to condense 6 drops of liquid spiritual energy before he was already overwhelmed when he reached the stage of chi condensation and liquid transformation in foundation establishment. Just when it seemed all his efforts were about to fail, the heavenly cicada spirit leaf that Yun had given him suddenly flew up on its own and merged into his dantian, releasing a large amount of pure wood spirit energy. This helped him complete the process of condensing qi into liquid, and finally rushed into the purple mansion, protecting Yuan Che's divine consciousness as it left his body, completing the leap in essence, qi, and spirit, and advancing him to the foundation establishment stage. Since this heavenly cicada spirit leaf shines in your hands, it is clear that it is destined for you. There is no need to feel guilty. Use it. Although Yun wore a wry smile, he still very gracefully gave Yuan Che the opportunity he had obtained from the divine tree secret realm. There was no other way but to give it to him. After he established his foundation, this heavenly cicada spirit leaf became like his natal magic weapon, merging with Yuan Che's essence, energy, and spirit. If Yun forcibly takes back this spiritual object, then he will have to destroy Yuan Che's Tao foundation. Even if you're very reluctant to part with it, you can still distinguish between what's important and what's not. "Thank you for your kindness, Senior Brother. I will serve you faithfully from now on." For Yuan Che, Yun's kindness to him was truly greater than the heavens. Without the heavenly cicada spirit leaf, he would not have been able to successfully establish his foundation this time. Although he was old enough to compete for the next batch of foundation establishment pills made from jade marrow and golden fungus, he would definitely not have been able to enter the divine tree secret realm. This heavenly cicada spirit leaf is so miraculous. If it is combined with the foundation establishment pill, wouldn't it guarantee the establishment of the foundation? Chen Mobai, however, thought of another direction and mentioned a key point that neither Yun nor Yuan Che had discovered. "I will write a report on this matter and submit it to the sect leader. It may also be placed in the library for future generations to consult." Yun said that since everyone's opportunities in the divine tree secret realm are basically different, and it seems that only he has obtained the heavenly cicada spirit leaf, there is still a lack of sufficient samples to verify whether this idea is feasible. However, Zhu Ming, who was serving wine on the side, had a bright look in her eyes and remembered this magical item. Heavenly cicada spirit leaf. It's a pity that Junior Brother Niu failed to establish his foundation. The three then talked about another true disciple of their faction, Niu Longyuan of the Spirit Beast Department. He didn't have Yuan Che's good luck. Although he made many preparations, he still couldn't get past this hurdle. "By the way, Junior Brother Chen, Junior Sister Ding came to me a few days ago, saying that she had some misunderstanding with you before and wanted me to help explain." This Junior Sister Ding is naturally Ding Ying. After the sect competition, she immediately went into seclusion and took the foundation establishment pill, but unfortunately, due to insufficient foundation and lack of opportunity, she failed. "I stopped caring about it a long time ago. Those seemingly insignificant matters from back then, are now forgotten after Chen Mobai advanced to the foundation establishment stage. Moreover, Ding Ying and he originally had no grudges against each other. Come to think of it, it was he who rashly came to her door. At that time, Chen Mobai was indeed not of high enough status, so it was normal for her to look down on him. That's good. Junior sister Ding heard that you were looking for materials to make talisman brushes. She happened to have some wolf hair brushes she collected in her early years. After making the talisman brushes, she had some left over and she asked me to give them to you. Yun handed over a box of wolf hair brushes. Chen Mobai took a look and found that the quality was even better than the Xuanling rabbit fur in his hand. Having served as the chief of the talisman-making department for so many years, anything that catches her eye and is kept by her must be of high quality. I have no grudges with senior sister Ding. We can talk it out. I won't accept the gifts. After Chen Mobai established his foundation, he felt that he needed to broaden his horizons, so he pushed the box of wolf hair brushes back. Junior brother Chen, only after you accept it can junior sister Ding feel at ease. She has good talent, and if she gets another foundation establishment pill in the next batch, she is very likely to establish her foundation. I can't bear to see her living in fear every day. Yun spoke softly, pointing out the problem. Chen Mobai considered the situation from the perspective of the cultivators in the heavenly river realm, and couldn't help but shake his head and smile bitterly. Indeed, if she didn't accept the box of wolf hair brushes, Ding Ying would feel that he still harbored resentment for his past mockery. Even as a true disciple, the thought of having a promising foundation establishment elder with a grudge against her would surely make her anxious and restless. If she had a weaker mindset, her life might have been ruined. Very well, since you say so, senior brother, I will accept it. Chen Mobai accepted Yun's suggestion, thus settling another matter of cause and effect. Next, the three of them talked about the results of these disciples taking the foundation establishment pill. Besides Yuan Chi, 5 other people successfully established their foundations, but 3 of them were taking foundation establishment pills for the second time. In other words, a total of 4 people will enter the Divine Tree secret realm. Chen Mobai calculated the success rate, not counting himself and Yuan Chi, who were 2 unexpected cases, plus Hong, Zhou Wangshan, and Yun, who had already successfully established their foundations at the beginning. There were 8 true disciples in this batch who had successfully established their foundations. The success rate of foundation building is just over 30%. It can only be said that the foundation establishment pill truly deserves to be called a supreme spiritual medicine. It's just a pity that the immortal sects don't have enough main ingredients to refine it. This is a record of the Divine Tree secret realm from the library. However, many senior brothers and sisters are unwilling to make it public after obtaining the opportunity, so it only records some well-known spiritual objects. When Chen Mobai and Yuan Chi left, Yun handed them the 2 volumes of books he had prepared. After thanking them, the 2 returned to their respective residences in Shenmu City. Chen Mobai brought Zhuo Ming to the property he obtained after advancing to the foundation establishment stage. Although it was in a place where mortals gathered, the spiritual energy was still good, and it was measured to be of the first-grade upper level. All I can say is that the spiritual energy in Jumu Ridge is abundant. In his courtyard, Chen Mobai sat on a recliner and took out the book that recorded the secrets of the Divine Tree realm. The book is quite thick. Upon opening it, I discovered that it contained records not only from the time of the Divine Tree sect, but also from the time before the 5 Elements sect split up, including records of foundation establishment disciples entering the Divine Tree secret realm. After flipping through the pages, Chen Mobai discovered many wonderful things that were truly captivating. For example, there's the Azure Wood Spirit Heart, which can expand the Purple Mansion Sea of Consciousness, the Defensive Spirit Leaf, which can block 1/3 tier spell attack, and the Tree Sap, which is very helpful for body tempering techniques. Among them, the most famous is naturally Master Mo from Golden Light Cliff. He obtained a branch from the Divine Tree secret realm, which he refined into his natal flying sword, making him the #1 sword cultivator in the eastern wilderness. Secondly, there was the chief disciple of the Divine Wood sect 20 years ago, who obtained a longevity tree fruit. After consuming it, he directly advanced from the early to the middle stage of foundation establishment, saving decades of effort. What Chen Mobai coveted most was this fruit of immortality. He is a believer in the theory of realm suppression, but he doesn't know if the fruit of immortality will have any side effects in raising one's realm, since the effect is just too heaven-defying. Furthermore, since it is possible to progress from the early to the middle stage of foundation establishment, is it also possible to advance from the middle stage to the late stage? Or perhaps one can directly achieve the foundational stage in one step. The more I think about it, the more I want it. Compared to this fruit of immortality, he felt that all other magical treasures were illusory. The next day, he then visited Ian and inquired about the fruit of immortality. "You're saying this, but after seeing what senior brother Yue is going through, I doubt you'll want it anymore. He happens to be in Shenmue City too, so I'll take you to visit him." Without wasting any words, Yun took Chen Mobai directly to the courtyard next door. A young man with white hair and a youthful face sat on a bamboo chair, leisurely drinking tea. In his courtyard, Chen Mobai saw all kinds of talisman paper, talisman ink, some broken magic tools, and even a pill furnace. "Oh, junior brother, what brings you here to see me today?" Although the boy's tone and behavior were very youthful, Chen Mobai saw a sense of age in him. "This is the current head of the sect. I brought him here to pay you a visit." Yun introduced Chen Mobai, and then this senior brother Yue brought out 2 chairs from inside the house, gesturing for them to sit down. "I know him. He's about to enter the Divine Tree secret realm, so you brought him here to see what will happen to me." This senior brother Yue made a self-deprecating joke. His name is Yue Zhudao. Although his real age is not yet 60, his body is actually 100 years old. "What's going on?" At Yue Zhudao's prompting, Chen Mobai touched his bone age and was greatly surprised. Although the fruit of the tree of immortality has amazing effects, it actually uses your lifespan to convert into realm and power. I didn't know before I took it and thought I had obtained a heaven-defying opportunity, but in the following 20 years, I found that not only could I not break through the realm, but my lifespan was also reduced by a full 40 years. To warn future disciples, before each new junior brother or sister enters the Divine Tree secret realm, I have them touch my bone age and advise them not to consume the longevity tree fruit unless absolutely necessary. Chen Mobai only found out after Yue Zhudao told him. This tree fruit, besides consuming your lifespan, will also trap your cultivation level at the step after a breakthrough. Over the past 20 years, Yue Zhudao has tried every possible method and consumed countless pills, but apart from being able to increase his spiritual power, he has been unable to break through to the late stage of foundation establishment, as if he were stuck at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. This matter even alarmed Ancestor Zhou, who took me to Huishan Valley for medical treatment. Master Yan said that I consumed 40 years of lifespan by taking the tree fruit, which was equivalent to gaining 40 years of spiritual power from meditation and cultivation overnight, thus breaking through my cultivation realm. In addition to paying 40 years of my lifespan, I also need to stay in the mid-foundation establishment stage for 40 years, so that the bottleneck to the late foundation establishment stage can be broken. No matter what kind of pills I take to increase my cultivation, after 40 years of taking the tree fruit, I will at most reach the peak of the mid-foundation establishment stage, unless I take a spiritual object of a higher grade than the longevity tree fruit to break the effect of the medicine. At this point, Yue Zhudao looked helpless. The longevity tree was a fourth-order spiritual tree, and its fruit was naturally also a fourth-order tree, already the best spiritual object in the eastern wilderness. Let's not even talk about whether there are any fifth-tier spiritual items that can counteract the side effects of the tree fruit. Even if there were, let alone Yue Zhudao, even the Shenmue sect might not be able to afford them. So over the years, He stopped cultivating and instead devoted himself to miscellaneous things such as spiritual plants, talismans, pills, and weapon crafting. He has achieved some success, and is now the spiritual plant cultivator with the highest success rate in refining second-tier tree species within the sect. The three were chatting when another person arrived. End of this chapter. Chapter 236, Magic Treasure Tree. Chapter 236, Magic Treasure Tree. Junior brother E is here too. What a coincidence. One of the people who came and greeted Yue Yudao, and then greeted E Yun. Greetings, senior brother Joe. Although he had never met him, Chen Mobai already had a guess in his mind who this handsome young man with a swallow's jaw, tiger's beard, broad shoulders, and thick waist was. Junior brother Chen, although this is our first meeting, I have long admired you. Zhou Wangshan smiled and greeted Chen Mobai at the end. The latter pretended not to know him, but after Yi Yun's introduction, he suddenly realized and stood up to respond. This is Wu Zhang. He's not in the 12 departments, but he's had good luck this year and successfully established his foundation. The young man who followed Zhou Wangshan in greeted the three people present with a respectful expression. Senior brother Yue, senior brother E, senior brother Chen. Finally, when facing Chen Mobai, he hesitated for a moment. After all, he was a true disciple of the same generation as Zhou Wangshan Ian. But thinking of the rules of the Tian realm, that those who are accomplished first, he finally addressed him as senior brother. You two junior brothers are too kind. Please have a seat. As the host, Yue Yudao brought out 2 more chairs, and the 5 of them sat in his courtyard, which was filled with clutter, and began to talk in a harmonious atmosphere. Zhou Wangshan brought Wu Zhang here for the same reason, to have Yue Yudao, who had been through it all, persuade those who wanted to choose the longevity tree fruit. Junior brother Chen, if you can obtain the sap of the longevity tree after entering the divine tree secret realm, I am willing to exchange it for 1,000 spirit stones for every drop. As they were leaving, Chen Mobai was still wondering why Zhou Wangshan would say those words, while Yi Yun looked surprised and muttered to himself. It seems he's cultivating the longevity body. What is the Tao body of longevity? Yi Yun led Chen Mobai to his courtyard, where Yuan Che was already waiting. After the 3 of them sat down, he began to talk about the longevity body. Our Shenmu sect's longevity scripture actually evolved from an ancient great sect's magic technique called the longevity technique, a supreme and wondrous technique that even the one Yuan true monarch had to cultivate for 100 years to master. Once this longevity technique is mastered, not only can one maintain eternal youth, but it can also increase 1/3 of one's lifespan at the current cultivation level. The higher the cultivation level, the longer the lifespan will be increased. But the most mysterious thing about the longevity technique is that once it is mastered, even if your head is cut off and your heart is shattered, as long as you still have a breath of life, you will not die. It is said that at the highest level, you can even be reborn from a drop of blood and become immortal. After hearing this, Chen Mobai and Yuan Che looked at each other in bewilderment. They really didn't know this secret. But what does this have to do with the Tao body of immortality? Upon hearing this, Yi Yun picked up his teacup, took a sip, and then sighed softly. We, the descendants, do not possess the extraordinary talent of the one Yuan true Lord, and are unable to master the art of immortality. So the sages of the past broke it down into the scripture of immortality and the Tao body of immortality. The former cultivates qi, while the latter strengthens the body. Once both are cultivated to their highest level, they can attempt to merge them and recreate the longevity technique. However, this is just speculation. After all, no one in my Shenmu sect has even cultivated the longevity scripture to the highest level, let alone the even more difficult longevity body. Chen Mobai knew that the longevity scripture had 20 levels, and the highest achiever in the Divine Wood sect, Ancestor Zhou, was only at the 17th level. Does the longevity body also have 20 layers? Yi Yun shook his head and held up 3 fingers. The longevity Tao body has only 3 realms: immortality, immortality, and longevity, which correspond to foundation establishment, core formation, and nascent soul, respectively. This is indeed simple, clear, and easy to understand. However, Chen Mobai suspects that the sage who broke down the longevity technique may have had a deeper understanding of qi cultivation, but perhaps not enough understanding of body tempering, so he just made this hasty division. The sap of the longevity tree is the best spiritual substance to aid in the cultivation of the longevity body. Wu Ziyang's successful foundation establishment this time was probably due to Zhou Wangshan's support, which was likely to allow him to enter the divine tree's secret realm and obtain the sap of the longevity tree. After listening to Yi Yun's words, Chen Mobai finally understood. However, he shook his head. Although he liked spirit stones very much, he couldn't let such an opportunity as the divine tree's secret realm benefit others. In the divine tree's secret realm, almost everyone can obtain a spiritual item under the magic treasure tree. As for the talent tree and the great Tao tree, it depends on individual opportunities. Although everyone who goes in is a sect disciple, if you happen to meet someone, please look out for each other. Yi Yun concluded by sharing his experience, and Chen Mobai and Yuan Che both nodded, indicating that if they encountered any problems inside, they would stand together through thick and thin. Time flies. Before we knew it, the time for the divine tree secret realm to open had arrived. That day, Chen Mobai bid farewell to Yi Yun and Zhu Ming, and together with Yuan Che, they arrived at the Shenmu Palace to wait. Wu Ziyang arrived early as well. There is another newly promoted foundation establishment cultivator, a true disciple of the previous alchemy department, named Yan Jinai, a junior sister who seems a bit carefree. She seemed to have a good relationship with Wu Ziyang. After arriving at the Shenmu Temple, the two stood together and talked. Perhaps senior brother Zhou also contacted her. Yuan Che made a guess. After all, as an alchemist, Yan Jinai was more likely to obtain the sap of the tree of immortality. Now that everyone's here, come with me. After waiting for a while, the sect leader Meng Hong appeared with Lu Yi, the head of the transmission department. Without saying a word, he led the way and flew towards the back of the divine tree hall, towards the 3 divine trees that reached straight into the clouds. Chen Mobai and the other 3 immediately followed. The group of 6, like 6 streaks of azure light, rose from the ground and after leaping over the divine wood palace, quickly arrived at the very center of Giant Wood Ridge, where the 3 immortal trees stood. Meng Hong led them to one of the sacred trees, which was so large that it would take 10 people to encircle it, and they landed slowly. Chen Mobai and the other 3 immediately stopped and landed at the same time. After the divine tree's secret realm opens, you will see 3 towering divine trees inside. Each divine tree holds different opportunities, and what you obtain depends entirely on yourselves. After Meng Hong finished speaking, he handed a wooden sword to Lu Yi, who was standing next to him. The latter bowed deeply, his face solemn, and accepted the gift with both hands. Next, I will open the portal to the secret realm. Enter as soon as possible and don't waste time. After it's over, you will appear here. We 2 old men will not wait for you. Come to the divine wood palace to find me then. After saying this, Lu Yi sat upright on the ground, his hands loosely clenched, holding the wooden sword to his chest, chanting incantations and activating a spell to release the seal. A jet-black light burst forth from the wooden sword and landed in a certain void between the 3 divine trees. Sizzle! A sound like cloth being torn apart rang out, and a vertical crack about 2 meters wide appeared in the void. Go! At this moment, Lu Yi had already filled the wooden sword in his hand with spiritual power. He seemed to be struggling, and sweat was seeping from his forehead. He flung the wooden sword out of his palm, and it pierced into the void rift. Then the wooden sword got stuck in the gap, and with a twist and turn, the vertical gap seemed to be torn open by 2 hands, creating a doorway just big enough for a person to pass through. Hurry up and go inside, this door won't be open for long. Meng Hong urged them on immediately, and Yuan Che and the other 2 did not hesitate at all. They transformed into azure light and rushed towards the void portal, almost meeting each other in midair. Chen Mobai hesitated for a moment, then rushed in after Yan Jinai. Hew hew. After all four of them went inside, Lu Yi immediately sheathed his wooden sword, sat down on the ground and began to breathe heavily. Every time I open the door, my spiritual power is exhausted. It's a good thing that I only open it once every few years. Otherwise, whoever wants to be the head of the transmission department can be the head of the department. Lu Yi tossed the wooden sword in his hand to Meng Hong in a bad mood. The key to this secret realm was to be kept by the sect leader, but the task of opening the door was assigned to the transmission department. Let's go, I caught a black loach. You've worked hard today, so I'll treat you to a good meal. After Meng Hong sheathed the wooden sword, he smiled and helped Lu Yi up from the ground. The two old men left the three divine trees chatting and laughing. I wonder what kind of opportunities those four will get inside. The other three should be able to get a magic weapon or spiritual item, but Chen Gixian might be able to get an extra cultivation technique. With the Divine Tree secret realm opening so many times, the Divine Tree sect has basically figured out the patterns of the three great divine trees. The magic tree provides a safety net, while the talent tree depends on aptitude. The great Tao tree is extremely mysterious, because very few people have benefited from it, or most of them keep it a secret. No pattern has been found yet. After passing through the void portal, Chen Mobai felt a sudden darkness before his eyes, followed by a sky full of blue light. He opened his eyes and found himself in midair, plummeting straight towards the ground. He immediately channeled his spiritual energy and used a flight technique to stop himself in midair. He then floated in the air for a while, looking around in all directions. They discovered that this place was yet another endless forest. Towering trees stand lush and green amidst the clouds and mist, a verdant expanse as far as the eye can see. Chen Mobai landed on the ground and gently stepped on it, discovering that the soil was covered with a thick layer of dead leaves. He landed in front of one of the large trees and discovered that it was the Crimson Sun spirit tree. Could we still be at Giantwood Ridge? With this question in mind, Chen Mobai used his flight technique and landed on the canopy of the tallest tree nearby. Finally, he saw something different. In the far reaches of the unknown, there are three enormous divine trees that reach the heavens. Unlike the three divine trees that gather in the center on Giant Tree Ridge, the three divine trees here are separate and far away on the horizon. Chen Mobai estimated the distance and found that the divine tree in the east seemed closer, so he flew towards it first. As he flew, he suddenly remembered something. How do I get out of this divine tree secret realm? Could it be like Yi Yun, who fell into a coma and woke up to find himself in Jumu Ridge? The divine tree seemed not far away, but it took Chen Mobai 3 days and 3 nights of flying before he finally saw its true form. Its bark is entirely gray, and it stands majestically with its trunk reaching straight into the sky, seemingly reaching the heavens. Senior brother Chen, what a coincidence. Just as Chen Mobai landed, Yan Jinai flew over. She greeted him, then circled the divine tree, found a cracked piece of bark, took out a medicinal hoe and started working on it. Junior sister, do you want to collect tree sap? Chen Mobai asked a question. Indeed, it seems that senior brother Zhou has also consulted senior brother Chen. Yan Jinai answered while working, but immediately shook her head and gave up. Her medicinal hoe couldn't even break through the divine tree's spiritual light. She couldn't even peel off a piece of bark, let alone sap. It seems this deal can't be done. Senior brother Chen, I'll go up first. After speaking, Yan Jinai greeted Chen Mobai, then reached out her right hand and touched the divine tree, infusing it with spiritual power. A flash of silver light, and she suddenly vanished from her spot. Chen Mobai immediately went to the place where she disappeared, feeling that there were signs of a teleportation array just now. He circled the sacred tree twice more, but finding no other way, he stretched out his right hand, touched the bark, and infused it with spiritual power as instructed in the book. A familiar sensation washed over him, and he opened his eyes again, only to feel a howling wind and the surrounding air suddenly becoming thin. Looking down, I found myself standing on a tree branch, seemingly within the canopy of the sacred tree. At the very end of the branch he was standing on, hung a bright green fruit the size of a fist. Chen Mobai turned his head and looked around again, and found that not only his own branch, but most of the branches had a fruit of a different color at their tips. Based on past experience, this fruit holds my opportunity. Upon closer inspection, he indeed spotted Yan Jinai, who had climbed up ahead of him on a branch in the distance. She had already reached her yellow fruit and was happily picking it. "Senior brother, I'll go down first." After receiving her harvest, Yan Jinai said something to Chen Mobai from a distance, and then reached out again to inject spiritual energy into the tree branch beneath her feet. With a flash of silver light, she vanished from the magical tree. Chen Mobai tried to use his flying technique, but found that he could not leave the tree branch beneath his feet, as if there was a force that prohibited flying. In other words, he can only take his own fruit. But Chen Mobai was still unwilling to give up. He took out a glass bead used to train spiritual power from his storage bag, wanting to use it to pick fruit from the tree branch next door. However, as soon as the glass bead left his palm, the little thing and the spiritual energy infused within it lost contact with him and plummeted from the height of 10,000 meters. Chen Mobai finally gave up. He shook his head, picked his own emerald green fruit, and then followed Yan Jinai's example and left the canopy of the magic tree. When she opened her eyes again, she was already standing in the same spot as before, her hand still touching the bark of the magic tree. Chen Mobai tried to infuse his spiritual power again, but unfortunately it seemed that his spiritual power had already left a record in this magical tree, and it did not transport him back to the treetop. With a sigh, Chen Mobai was about to leave when he suddenly remembered something. In addition to the longevity spiritual power, his dantian also contained pure yang spiritual power. I immediately turned around and tried it. With a flash of silver light, Chen Mobai returned to the canopy of the magic tree. He looked at the purple fruit in front of him and fell into deep thought. Most of the true disciples of the Shenmu sect have cultivated the dual-phase technique, possessing two kinds of spiritual power. He probably wasn't the first to discover this bug, was he? End of this chapter. Chapter 237, Azure Wood Spiritual Heart, Azure Sun Fire Seed. Chapter 237, Azure Wood Spiritual Heart, Azure Sun Fire Seed. However, after thinking about it carefully, Chen Mobai realized that he might actually be the first one. Because other disciples of the Divine Wood sect have already linked the two cultivation methods together in their two phases technique, and after the two spiritual energies have been transformed, they have each acquired some of their own characteristics. Unlike him, who used the critical method to separate the longevity spiritual power and the pure yang spiritual power, they are actually two different spiritual powers cultivated by two different techniques. Having realized this, Chen Mobai had no further doubts. After picking the purple fruit in front of him, he left the canopy of the magic tree again. If it weren't for the limited time he had in the divine tree secret realm, he would have really wanted to try cultivating different spiritual powers and see if he could go up again to obtain a fruit. Let's go check out the other two divine trees first. If we have extra time later, we can come back here and try it out. After making up his mind, Chen Mobai observed the locations of the other two divine trees. After confirming that his tree was a magic treasure tree, he was able to distinguish the remaining two divine trees based on the records left by the sect's predecessors. Without any hesitation, Chen Mobai flew towards the talent tree. The trials of the great tree are beyond the reach of ordinary people. Usually, those who go there will fall into a coma and wake up in Giant Tree Ridge. The talent tree and the magic weapon tree are almost identical, reaching straight into the clouds with no end in sight. The way to obtain this opportunity is slightly different from that of the magic treasure tree. In addition to injecting his spiritual power into it, Chen Mobai also dripped a drop of blood into it, and finally let his divine consciousness leave his body and go through the talent tree once again. After pouring all his energy and spirit into it, Chen Mobai sat quietly under the tree, waiting patiently. About an incense stick's time later, a beam of azure light descended from the sky and entered his mind sea between his eyebrows. This was the tree of talent's evaluation of him and the opportunity it had given him. Cultivating wood-based spiritual power, with a trace of medicinal poison within the power, rated superior. A mixed spiritual root with 4 attributes, possessing more innate vital energy than the average person, with fire spiritual root being the best. It is recommended to switch to fire attribute cultivation techniques. Overall rating, low grade. His divine sense surpasses that of an ordinary early foundation establishment cultivator. His purple mansion and sea of consciousness are stable. This growth was not achieved through drastic methods to stimulate his divine sense. Therefore, he is rated superior. Overall evaluation, above average talent, awarded 1 secret technique. After Chen Mobai deciphered the message in his mind, a secret technique that seemed to open up the purple mansion sea of consciousness suddenly appeared in his mind. It had no name, as if it was a relevant content extracted from a vast classic and directly imprinted in his mind, allowing him to comprehend it. To cultivate this secret technique, one needs the azure wood spirit heart. After reviewing the secret technique in his mind, Chen Mobai frowned slightly. He opened his storage bag and took out the emerald green fruit that he had picked from the magic tree. Sure enough, inside was a walnut-sized emerald, which, according to the books I had read before entering, was what the azure heart looked like. I wonder if the senior sister who obtained this spiritual object 30 years ago has acquired this secret technique. As Chen Mobai muttered to himself, he stored the jade spirit heart in a jade bottle and then took out the purple fruit. However, due to insufficient preparation, the skin on his right hand was burned when he opened it. A wisp of purple flame burned in midair, releasing astonishing heat. It should be noted that Chen Mobai had already established his foundation, and his physical body had undergone a transformation, so ordinary flames could not burn the spiritual light on his body. The purple flame could damage him. It was at least over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Could this be? Upon seeing the purple flame, Chen Mobai had a vague idea in his mind. Then, he placed his burned hand on the talent tree and repeated the steps from before. However, this time the spiritual energy injected was replaced with pure yang spiritual energy. The previous longevity spiritual power had been contaminated with foundation establishment pills, but due to the short time elapsed, the toxins from the pills had not yet been eliminated. However, pure yang spiritual power is a different story. He achieved this through genuine and diligent cultivation, and never used any elixirs to enhance his abilities. As expected, the first evaluation of spiritual power was off the charts. Cultivated with pure fire elemental power, free from any poisonous substances, with a profound foundation, rated as immortal grade. A mixed spiritual root with 4 attributes, possessing more innate vital energy than the average person, with the fire spiritual root being the best. It is well suited to the cultivation method, and the overall rating is middle grade. His divine sense surpasses that of an ordinary early foundation establishment cultivator. His purple mansion and sea of consciousness are stable. No drastic methods were used to stimulate the growth of his divine sense. He is rated superior. Overall evaluation, superior talent, reward, 1 set of secret techniques. Another beam of azure light descended and entered Chen Mobai's sea of consciousness between his brows. However, this time the amount of information he received was quite enormous, and it took him a long time to come back to his senses. The secret technique we obtained this time finally has a name, Pure Azure Technique. It is a spell that can continuously enhance the power and grade of the fire seed. It was through this that Chen Mobai learned that the purple fruit he obtained from the magic tree contained the seed of the azure yang fire. However, this spark has not yet matured. Only when the purple flame transforms into azure flame will it truly possess the power of a third-order, azure yang fire. This pure azure technique is a secret art that completely upgrades the purple flame into azure yang flame. This talent tree is quite intelligent. After reading the 2 secret techniques, Chen Mobai muttered to himself. He withdrew his burned hand from the talent tree. then used the pure azure technique's fire sealing method to reseal the azure yang fire seed and put it into his storage bag. Just as he was about to get up and leave, Chen Mobai hesitated for a moment. He checked the time and figured he should have enough time to get to the big tree, so he turned around and sat down again. He took out a useless talisman that had been placed at the bottom of his storage bag, something he thought he would never use in his life. Wood talisman. After casting the spell, Chen Mobai can transform into a heavenly spiritual root within an hour. Just as he was about to try again, he suddenly frowned and looked up at the eastern sky. He sensed a ray of spiritual light flying towards him, causing fluctuations in the surrounding Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, heaven and earth energy. Chen Mobai didn't want to risk being exposed by continuing to use the wooden spirit talisman. After putting the talisman away, he waited for about 15 minutes, and a familiar spiritual light descended from the sky. Senior brother Chen is even faster than me. The person who arrived was Yan Jinai. She left the magic tree earlier than Chen Mobai, but her spiritual power was not as profound as Chen Mobai's. She was also delayed on the way due to some things, so she arrived later. Junior sister, have you met the other two? Chen Mobai stood there with a smile on his face, completely at ease. Since there were only 4 of them in this secret realm, each of them had a chance to succeed, so there was no need for them to compete with each other, and everyone was quite magnanimous. We didn't encounter them on the way. They must have arrived at the main tree first. Yan Jinai answered truthfully, noticing Chen Mobai's burned right hand and a look of surprise on her face. The seed of the azure sun flame was obtained from the magic treasure tree, and it ended up like this because of a careless moment when it was activated. This azure sun fire seed can be combined with the crimson flame sword technique to amplify its power, and it will definitely be impossible to hide it in the future. Furthermore, every wisp of fire spontaneously generated by the azure sun spirit tree within Giant Tree Ridge is recorded, and Chen Mobai could never afford to buy it. He decided to just tell the sect that he had obtained a wisp of azure sun fire seed in the divine tree secret realm. Senior brother has extraordinary opportunities. Yan Jinai looked on with envy after hearing this, as the azure yang fire seed was worth at least 10,000 spirit stones. I wonder what kind of opportunity junior sister has obtained. Chen Mobai asked a question, but Yan Jinai just smiled and didn't answer. Chen Mobai didn't press for an answer and tactfully took his leave. Yan Jinai breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that the sword genius, who was known as one of the sect's 2 unparalleled talents along with senior brother Hong, had left. She obtained a very troublesome spiritual object. It was because she opened the fruit halfway through the journey and saw what was inside that she was so shocked and delayed on the road for so long. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. After sighing, Yan Jinai reached out and touched the talent tree. After a long while, she got up and flew towards the direction of the great tree. Chen Mobai originally planned to wait half a day before returning to the talent tree, use the wood spirit talisman to transform himself into a heavenly spirit root, and then see if he could exploit the bug again to obtain 2 secret techniques. However, he then realized that the secret techniques granted by the talent tree seemed to be designed to complement the fruits harvested from the magic weapon tree. He already has matching secret techniques for both the azure wood spirit heart and the azure sun fire seed. Even if his spiritual root undergoes a qualitative change, and he obtains more secret techniques, without the corresponding spiritual objects, wouldn't it be a waste of the wood spirit talisman? Moreover, if I were to rush back and run into Yan Jinai, wouldn't that make her suspect that there's something wrong with me? After thinking it over, Chen Mobai decided to go to the great tree first. As long as I don't force myself to reap the rewards from the great Dao tree and don't faint, I should have time to go back to the talent tree again and give it another try. Having thought it through, Chen Mobai no longer hesitated and flew to the direction of the last divine tree at top speed. When Yan Jinai landed, there was no one on the side of the avenue tree. She hesitated for a moment, then stepped toward the last and most mysterious sacred tree. 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps. His consciousness began to feel an inexplicable pressure, as if a 1,000-pound burden was placed on his head. His consciousness began to become drowsy, his eyelids closed slightly, and an inescapable fatigue surged into his heart. Finally, as she took her 5th step toward the great tree, she lost consciousness and collapsed to the ground. Then a flash of silver light appeared, and she vanished from the spot. About 2 days later, Yuan Che and Wu Ziyang also landed. They glanced at the great tree, nodded, and walked toward the massive trunk. Yuan Che also fell unconscious at the 5th step, and Wu Ziyang took the 6th step, but he collapsed just 1 step too late. After witnessing the 3 people disappear, a doll jumped down from a nearby tree. It was the formless puppet manipulated by Chen Mobai. The cultivators in the heavenly river realm are generally very cautious. If Chen Mobai's true form were to be spying nearby, they would likely discover something amiss. However, the puppet, which had no signs of life and was made using technology from the immortal sects, was completely undetected by the 3 of them after Chen Mobai's divine sense entered it. It will probably take about 13 steps to reach the main body of the great Tao tree. Chen Mobai flew over and visually estimated the range of the great Tao tree's ability to cause unconsciousness. According to Yi Yun, he took 7 steps, Zhou Wangshan took 7.5 steps, and before they both lost consciousness, they saw Heng take the 9th step. I just don't know what the criteria are for judging this great tree, and what level one needs to reach to obtain the relevant opportunities. Chen Mobai took out his phone and first measured the spiritual energy level in the vicinity. The discovery was not very high, only a 2nd-tier spiritual vein. However, he guessed that this might be because most of the spiritual energy in the secret realm was suppressed by the 3 divine trees. Let's try it again with the faceless doll. Chen Mobai muttered to himself. He had already gone through it once before in his true form, and when he reached the 4th step, he felt that he could no longer bear it. Knowing that if he took another step, he would probably faint, he immediately had the formless puppet, which was outside the range of the great Tao tree, pull him out of the immobile area. Then, when he found a place to recuperate, he discovered that Yan Jinai had flown over. He used his remaining strength to control the formless puppets and observe them. While recovering his depleted energy, he also wanted to see if they could obtain the opportunity of the great Tao tree. Unfortunately, the trials of this sacred tree were rather harsh, and no one gained its favor. The divided consciousness guided the puppet past itself and into the domain of the great Tao tree. Instantly, a strange and inexplicable sensation arose on his divine consciousness, almost causing him to collapse and lose control. Spirit barrier activated. However, this puppet was Qi Yucheng's masterpiece, so it naturally had the means to resist divine sense attacks. Chen Mobai directly activated all of these functions. A transparent membrane appeared out of thin air on the puppet's head, enveloping the divine consciousness possessed by Chen Mobai. Instantly, he felt a sense of relief, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from his body, leaving him feeling refreshed and relaxed. Overjoyed, Chen Mobai steered the formless puppet forward once more. The transparent barrier distorted slightly, but remained intact. 2 steps, 3 steps. All the way to the 7th step, the spirit barrier finally couldn't withstand the pressure and began to deform violently. Chen Mobai had a feeling that if he took another step, the spirit barrier would shatter. However, in order to conserve the spiritual energy in the high-grade spirit stones, he had always activated the formless puppet with the minimum functionality. Now, for the sake of the great Tao tree's opportunity, he could no longer worry about the loss of spirit stones. I glanced at the psionic progress bar in the upper right corner of the screen, which showed a figure of 67%. This means that there is still unused spiritual energy within this superior-grade spirit stone. Although the progress bar wasn't full, Chen Mobai knew that it was equivalent to 67 mid-grade spirit stones, which was an enormous amount of spiritual energy for a foundation establishment cultivator. 100% power consumption. Activate the spirit isolation shield. After issuing the command, Chen Mobai saw that his spirit energy bar, which was originally at 67%, instantly decreased by 2%, becoming 65%. But the effect was also amazing. The spirit barrier that was about to shatter returned to normal, and he took 2 more steps. Then he took the 10th step. End of this chapter. Chapter 238 Sword Rainbow Splitting Light. Chapter 238 Sword Rainbow Splitting Light. With a loud boom. As he took the 10th step, Chen Mobai's consciousness jolted. It felt as if the spirit barrier of the formless doll had been bombarded by a violent storm, constantly twisting and deforming, and was about to break. However, with the continuous supply of spiritual energy from the high-grade spirit stones, they managed to hold on in the end. Chen Mobai was eager to take things a step further, but then he saw a yellow alert coming from the formless puppet. This means that the barrier's restrictions have reached the warning level. Although it hasn't broken down to the red level yet, it means that it's about to reach the critical point. Chen Mobai waited for 2 seconds, but the great tree, which was so close at hand, still did not react. Can't even take 10 steps. Standing on the periphery, Chen Mobai looked disappointed, but he didn't intend to risk damaging the Wuxiang puppet and began to manipulate it to retreat. However, just as he took a step back, the great tree, which had been as silent as a mountain, began to emit a faint blue light. Just as Chen Mobai was at a loss, a green leaf fell and merged into the formless puppet. The moment Chen Mobai's divine sense, which was possessed by the body, came into contact with a vast and powerful, heavy will, he felt his vision go black and almost fainted. 10 steps before the great Tao tree, achieving a superior result, qualifies one to become a true disciple of the longevity sect. A true disciple may be bestowed with a higher level of a great technique. Please select the great technique you wish to experience and comprehend. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai had only one thought in his mind. So tell me how to choose. Seemingly sensing his thoughts, another message surfaced in his mind. Defensive spells can be cast directly, while offensive spells should be directed at the great Tao tree itself. At this moment, Chen Mobai saw the yellow alert on the spirit barrier screen of the Wuxiang puppet suddenly upgrade to red, and knew that he could no longer waste time, and that the puppet had no other choice. He immediately raised his right hand and pointed his fingers to form a sword. A crimson sword rainbow began to condense, a spark bloomed, and then it exploded completely, like a rainbow of light covering the sky, slashing down onto the main body of the great Tao tree in front of it. It was only then that Chen Mobai noticed that the bark of the divine tree, which was so close at hand, had many marks from knife cuts, sword strikes, and even fist and claw marks. The latest one is a fingerprint. With a whoosh sound, his crimson sword rainbow resembled a rain of laser swords, leaving slightly charred marks on the great tree. It seems a bit too weak. But there was nothing he could do. This was the strongest attack Chen Mobai could unleash. If it were his true form, he wouldn't even be as good as this formless puppet. As soon as Chen Mobai unleashed his sword strike, he felt the spirit barrier shatter. Just as he was about to retreat, the great Tao tree gave him its feedback. Among the 24 major arts of the longevity sect, there is no such sword energy. What's the meaning? Did I take those 10 steps for nothing? Just as Chen Mobai was feeling a bit frustrated and the Wuxiang puppet was about to exit, the great Tao tree finally sent another message. I hereby bestow upon you the realm of sword rainbow splitting light. Then the green leaf that had merged into Chen Mobai's puppet suddenly burst forth with boundless light, instantly burning and transforming into a purple fire sword talisman that merged into it. With their minds connected, Chen Mobai's true form, who was sitting on the outside watching the show, also let out a scream at the same time. He felt as if his divine consciousness, manifested as a jade parasol tree, was being scorched by flames. This caused Chen Mobai, who was already not very able to withstand pain and even had to be careful when splitting his mind, to be instantly knocked unconscious by the intense burning pain. The longevity path to immortality trial has ended. The disciple returns. Before Chen Mobai lost consciousness, he heard the last message from the great Tao tree. Then his body began to shimmer with silvery white light, and the power of space fluctuated, teleporting him back to Giantwood Ridge. Beep, beep, beep. At this moment, after being integrated into the phone, the previously silent turtle baby suddenly started popping up windows, the piercing sound of which could even be heard by the unconscious Chen Mobai. In his hazy state of consciousness, all Chen Mobai wanted to do was turn off the annoying phone notifications. Host detected traversing the membrane between heaven and earth, leaving this realm. Should we anchor to this new world for future teleportation? Then Gui Bao's words instantly woke Chen Mobai, who had fallen into a coma, and he barely managed to muster a bit of energy. Amidst the intense pain of being scorched by flames, he forcefully heightened his consciousness and issued the command, yes. He could no longer hold on and fell into a coma. When Chen Mobai woke up, it was already 10 days later. He lay down in the room of the Divine Tree Temple. "Senior brother, you're awake. Do you feel unwell anywhere?" The speaker was Yan Jinai. As a true disciple of the alchemy department, she was also skilled in medicine. After Master Zheng confirmed that Chen Mobai was not in any danger, she, as his disciple, was left to take care of him. "Thank you for your hard work, junior sister. She's a little dazed, but she's fine overall." Chen Mobai had just woken up and was a little confused about the situation, so he answered very cautiously. "That's good. I'll go and inform the sect leader." Yan Jinai breathed a sigh of relief, then turned and left. A short while later, Meng Hong led in a thin middle-aged man with a gaunt face and a goatee. "Yes, your blood and qi are abundant, and your spiritual energy is also stable. According to your pulse, you have fully recovered." The middle-aged man was Master Zheng from the alchemy department. He was the one who refined the foundation establishment pill for Chen Mobai, and he was also Yan Jinai's master. "You've gained something from the great Tao tree. Those three guys were only unconscious for a day before they woke up and came to report to the Divine Tree Palace. You, on the other hand, were unconscious for a full 10 days, almost as long as Hong." Meng Hong pointed at Yan Jinai and said, and the latter lowered her head in shame. "But we did gain something." Chen Mobai hesitated for a moment, then decided it was better to solidify his image as a genius, since he and Hong He were now known as the two unparalleled talents of the Divine Wood sect. Hong He may have taken 10 steps as well, and that fingerprint should be his. Since the two are equally famous, Chen Mobai naturally cannot hide his talents. "How many steps did you take?" Upon hearing this, Meng Hong, who had been relatively calm, became slightly agitated and couldn't help but rush to Chen Mobai's bedside to ask questions, much to the latter's surprise. "Do I feel like I've overdone it? I only made it to the 10th step. It's a pity I couldn't touch the great tree. But there's nothing we can do. We've already said it, so we can only keep reinforcing it and pretending it's true." Inside the room, everyone gasped. Even Master Zheng, who had entered with a cold face, showed a look of shock when he heard that Chen Mobai had taken 10 steps in front of the great tree. Before the 5-element sect split up, he had also entered the Divine Tree secret realm, but he only took 6 steps in front of the great Tao tree. It was because he had experienced it that he knew how difficult it was to take 10 steps. This is not a simple 1 plus 1, but a huge difference of several times, or even more than 10 times. This person truly deserves to be called an unparalleled genius in swordsmanship. Only those with such iron could withstand such a raging wave of spiritual attack. This little guy might have even more terrifying talent than Hong. Looking at the shocked gazes of Meng Hong and Master Zheng, Chen Mobai felt that he might have overdone it. But at this point, he had no choice but to bite the bullet and keep up the act. "Senior brother Chen, you're amazing." Yan Jinai looked at the handsome young man lying on the hospital bed with a look of admiration. His face was slightly pale. She felt that even if the person in front of her was seriously injured and could only lift one finger, he could easily kill a mediocre person like her. Because she had just gone through the test of the great Tao tree, the terrifying pressure that was like dark clouds covering the sky, omnipresent yet inescapable, was still vivid in her mind. Compared to Meng Hong and Zheng Wuyu, whom she could only recall, she now understood the hardship and pain much better. You are the first true disciple of our sect to take 10 steps toward the great Tao tree after we split from the Five Elements sect. Could you tell me the specifics? Meng Hong asked Chen Mobai with a solemn expression. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai felt a wave of dizziness. How come he was the first one? Is the Red River really that useless? Can't even take 10 steps. Originally, he heard that even figures like Yi Yunju and Wang Shen were reluctant to talk about Hong, and Meng Hong said that he and Hong had been unconscious for about the same amount of time, so he thought that this person had also taken 10 steps. He thought to himself that he was indeed worthy of being one of the two peerless talents of the Shenmu sect, who were on par with him, a genius in swordsmanship. Little did they know that they had been tricked. If I hadn't gotten that reward in front of the great tree, my public image might have collapsed today. This should have been an incredible opportunity for me, and I didn't want to leave any trace of it even within the sect. After Chen Mobai finished speaking, Meng Hong understood what he meant. Don't worry, what you gained in front of the great Tao tree will only be passed down by word of mouth within the transmission department, and will not be written down and enter the library. Moreover, regardless of whether this opportunity is useful to my Shenmu sect, as the sect leader, I will privately compensate you with a second-tier magic weapon. Junior brother Zheng is a direct disciple of Ancestor Zhou. We will report this matter to him when Ancestor Zhou comes out of seclusion. After saying these 3 sentences, Chen Mobai knew that even if he was determined not to talk about what he had gained in front of the great Tao tree, it probably wouldn't work. Even old Ancestor Zhou has been brought out. Since that's the case, Chen Mobai began to use his imagination, combining characters from his favorite TV dramas, and directly made up a story on the spot that was half true and half false, yet it made Meng Hong and the other 2 feel horrified. I took the 10th step, but I know that even with my talent, I can only stop here and cannot overstep my bounds. However, we sword cultivators would rather break than bend. Even though I knew that taking the 11th step might kill me, I was still fearless. When I took the next step, I unleashed my most brilliant and sublime sword strike towards the great Tao tree. After that sword strike, I felt as if I had been shattered and fell into a long slumber. I don't know how much time passed, but I woke up in darkness and saw an incomparably majestic figure. This man had his back to the world. His hair was as black as ink, and he held a rotten wooden sword in his right hand. He said one sentence, and then made a sword strike. With this sword strike, the void shattered and I fell into a deep slumber. In the end, all I heard was a sigh. Then I woke up, opened my eyes and saw junior sister Yan. After Chen Mobai finished speaking, Meng Hong and the other 2 stared wide-eyed. With their limited perspective and knowledge, they simply could not imagine the magnificent existence described by Chen Mobai. Did this venerable one leave behind a Taoist name? Meng Hong asked very cautiously. Of course there is. Before this being unleashed that sword strike, he said, I, the Azure Emperor, here unleash the sword of immortality. Anyone who comprehends this sword can be called my disciple. Upon hearing this, Meng Hong and Zheng Wuyu exchanged a glance, their expressions becoming even more solemn. The Divine Tree's secret realm is a secret realm left behind by the ancient sect, the Longevity sect. Legend has it that the Longevity sect has an ancient lineage, and its origins can even be traced back to the time when the jellyfish created the 5 continents and 4 seas. Now it seems that it should be the lineage of this Azure Emperor. Is there anything else? Seeing the hopeful looks in Meng Hong's and the other 2's eyes, Chen Mobai could only shake his head. This story has already progressed to the creation of the world. If it continues, it will lead to the primordial chaos, where the elements of earth, wind, water, and fire will be reforged. It's a pity you didn't comprehend the longevity sword. Otherwise, you would probably have gained the true recognition of the Divine Tree secret realm, be able to enter and exit freely, and control all the resources of this secret realm. Meng Hong sighed, and Chen Mobai's heart stirred upon hearing this. He recalled the pop-up window from Gibao before he fell into a coma, and wondered if it had ultimately been successfully anchored. The spiritual energy in the Divine Tree secret realm is also average. There are only some spiritual trees, at most the Great Tao Tree, Magic Treasure Tree, and Talent Tree, which are useful to newly established foundation establishers. The resources inside are probably not as good as those in Giant Tree Ridge. Chen Mobai tentatively said something. Only the environment of the Divine Tree's secret realm can cultivate the everlasting tree. Meng Hong only said this one sentence, then looked intently at Chen Mobai. Hong took 9 steps and became a true disciple of the longevity sect, gaining some benefits. Apart from witnessing the Azure Emperor's longevity sword, did you gain nothing else? It's here. Chen Mobai knew that someone as seasoned as Meng Hong would not believe something unconditionally, unless he saw something substantial. However, it's good to have doubts, otherwise how can I formally reveal the swordsmanship realm I just attained? Although I did not comprehend the Azure Emperor's longevity sword, I have still achieved some small accomplishments in the way of the sword. By drawing inferences from similar cases, my sword realm has reached a new level. I would say it was a blessing in disguise. As he spoke, Chen Mobai gently extended his right index finger. Then a wisp of purple flame ignited at his fingertips, and in an instant, all the free spiritual energy in the entire room was drawn away by his fingertips. After the pure spiritual energy condensed, it resembled a rain of rainbow swords, containing incomparably vast power. It should have spread out in all directions, but it was firmly bound at Chen Mobai's fingertips, turning into a crystal-clear purple jade sword light that resembled flowing magma. Seeing this, Meng Hong's expression turned solemn, and he took out a second-tier spirit leaf talisman. However, this defensive talisman, which could easily withstand the rainbow-like sword energy, couldn't even last a breath before the purple jade sword light. It was cleaved in two, burning and turning into ashes that scattered on the ground. Sword rainbow splits. Seeing this, Meng Hong and the other two gasped again. End of this chapter. Chapter 239 Apprenticeship Ceremony. Chapter 239 Apprenticeship Ceremony. Zionenchen. Chen Mobai sat in front of his wooden house, playing with the wisp of purple flame in his palm. After demonstrating the sword rainbow-splitting light in the Divine Wood Hall, Meng Hong immediately made Zheng Wuyu and Yan Jinai swear an oath of faith that they must never reveal this matter. Sword cultivators are known as having the strongest combat ability among their peers, relying on the powerful single-target damage they can achieve after mastering sword light. The first 3 realms of sword cultivation are sword refinement into chi, sword chi transforming into energy, and sword chi like a rainbow. Although these are very powerful, they cannot make one invincible among those of the same level. Only after mastering the sword light and being able to condense all spiritual power into a single point can a sword cultivator begin to sweep across the world. Sword chi like a rainbow. This technique uses a single point of spiritual energy to draw upon several times the amount of heaven and earth's primordial energy, transforming it into an overwhelming rainbow of sword chi that crushes and overwhelms the opponent. However, although such attacks are powerful, they can be blocked by defensive magical artifacts or talismans because their power is not concentrated enough. For example, during the sect competition, the spirit leaf talisman that Zhou Wangshan gave to Feng Hongsu easily blocked Chen Mobai's sword aura. To compensate for this shortcoming, the 4th realm of sword cultivation is sword rainbow splitting light. By concentrating the myriad sword rainbows into a single strand, all the power was gathered together and condensed into the most extreme and terrifying segment of sword light, with a power more than 10 times that of the sword rainbows. Generally speaking, those who can master sword light are at least mid-foundation establishment-level sword cultivators, which is already considered a prodigy. In the history of the Eastern Wilderness, it is recorded that more than 80% of the sword cultivators who mastered the sword rainbow dividing light were in the late foundation establishment stage. Chen Mobai's swordsmanship skills, achieved at the early foundation establishment stage, are, according to the records of the Divine Wood sect, the #1 swordsman in the Eastern Wilderness. It was precisely for this reason that Meng Hong, in his capacity as sect leader, made Zheng Wuyu and Yan Jinai, who had witnessed the purple fire sword light, swear an oath of faith. This is an unparalleled divine sword. Once drawn, it must cause bloodshed for miles around, and there must be absolutely no risk of it being exposed to enemy sects. After mastering the sword light, in a head-on confrontation with Chen Mobai, only those in the late Foundation establishment stage, and a few exceptionally talented mid-Foundation establishment stages could stand a chance. After Chen Mobai recovered, Meng Hong let him return to Xianenshan. The sect leader only had one sentence: practice your swordsmanship diligently. The sword rainbow-splitting light realm is the starting point for sword cultivators to be invincible among their peers. It is also profound and extensive. Mastering sword light is the entry point, while being able to split sword light is the true mastery. At Chen Mobai's current level, he can only condense a purple fire sword light, and he can only do so by relying on the Qingyang fire seed. When he is able to create hundreds or thousands of sword lights, he will be truly invincible in both one-on-one and group combat. Thinking of this, Chen Mobai had a thought, and the azure yang fire seed in his palm started to burn, absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that was floating on the top of Xiaonan Mountain. In an instant, it condensed into a piece of crystal-clear jade-like sword light, which looked like flowing magma. This is precisely the purple flame sword light of the crimson flame sword technique. Chen Mobai activated his divine sense, and in the splitting of his mind, the purple fire sword light floating in his palm began to crack from the top, and then, like a tree branch, it forked into a second, smaller purple fire sword light. The small sword light that had split off shot out and landed on a rock on the mountaintop. The sword light pierced through, and silently the stone melted into lava, rolling down the ground and scorching a large patch of green grass. This is called sword light differentiation. The great Tao tree bestowed upon him all its insights into the realm of sword cultivation. With just a thought, the understanding accumulated through years of cultivation would arise in his mind, making it easy for him to do so. Unfortunately, his spiritual strength was insufficient. Although he was considered quite good among those of the same realm, he was only able to differentiate a second purple fire sword light. He naturally concealed his true abilities at this level, not displaying them at the Divine Wood Palace. This is to maintain his image as an unparalleled swordsmanship genius. After a few years, he will use it as if he had come up with it himself. The main reason for creating the story of the Green Emperor was for this purpose. Firstly, it shows that the sword rainbow-splitting light realm was comprehended by himself, after observing the Azure Emperor's longevity sword, rather than being obtained out of thin air from the great Tao tree's empowerment, thus demonstrating that he is truly an unparalleled genius in swordsmanship. Continue to solidify your public image. Secondly, Chen Mobai took out his phone and opened Turtle Treasure. The teleport button that was originally the only one has now become two. Teleport 1, Teleport 2. He named Teleport 1 Celestial River Realm and Teleport 2 Divine Tree Realm. Turtle Treasure is still amazing. Even though its master was unconscious, it still managed to successfully anchor itself in the Divine Tree Secret Realm. If Chen Mobai's cultivation level increases in the future, he will be able to control the overall situation, and he plans to properly develop this secret realm. He might not be able to utilize all the resources of the entire Divine Tree Secret Realm on his own, and he might need the assistance of a sect or immortal sect in the future. However, compared to the immortal sect, Chen Mobai felt that the Divine Wood sect was easier to cooperate with. He felt that if he stayed here for several decades, he might even become the sect leader. If one day the two Golden Core ancestors died, wouldn't he be in charge? Moreover, he didn't want to expose the existence of the Turtle Treasure. He couldn't fool the immortal sect, so he should focus on cultivating his presence in the Heavenly River realm first. Therefore, Chen Mobai laid the groundwork by making up a story in the Divine Tree sect in advance, and then said that he had comprehended the longevity sword and suddenly could freely enter and leave the Divine Tree secret realm. Master, Senior Brother Liu is back. Just then, Zhuo Ming shouted something from outside the formation. Chen Mobai withdrew the azure yang flame seed, and the purple fire sword light immediately dissipated. He rubbed his eyes, which were sore and swollen from staring at the flames for so long, and couldn't help but sigh that he needed to buy some eye drops. At the same time, an entrance to the array fog that shrouded the top of Xi'an Mountain was also opened. This is a second-tier cloud and mist array obtained from the Spirit Plant Department. In addition to defense, it can also gather the clouds, water, and mist in the sky. After reaching a certain level, it can turn into spiritual rain and fall down to nourish the earth. Chen Mobai placed the core of the formation at the top of Xi'an Mountain. After all, he had many secrets, and there were some things he couldn't let his disciples see. After the cloud formation opened, Liu Wenbai and Zhuo Ming walked in with respectful expressions. "Master, your disciple has lived up to your expectations and brought all the spiritual plants from the Water Palace." As he spoke, Liu Wenbai took out 3 jade boxes of different lengths and sizes from his storage bag. This is a tool used in the heavenly river realm to preserve spiritual plants and herbs, and it can preserve spiritual energy for the longest time. Among the various arts and crafts of immortal cultivation, there is a special category called Jade Master, which includes knowledge of finding, nurturing, cutting, carving, and repairing jade. It is considered a relatively high-end profession. However, things are much simpler in the heavenly river realm. They are directly categorized as weapon refiners. Chen Mobai took a look and found that the 3 jade boxes were carefully prepared, and there were some patterns on them. He first opened the long jade box, inside which were 4 slender bamboo stalks, all uprooted and untrimmed, taken out intact. However, the golden-edged jade bamboo seemed to have been drained of its spiritual energy and had withered. Why is that? Chen Mobai had planned to use this jade bamboo as a pen holder, but now he didn't know if it could still be used. "Master, please forgive me. After I picked the bamboo fruit, the entire golden-edged bamboo withered. I asked the family and learned that the bamboo fruit must be dried up by absorbing the spiritual energy of the entire bamboo before it can ripen." Chen Mobai was genuinely unaware of this matter, but he understood that his disciple wouldn't lie to him about something like this, so he nodded and accepted his explanation. Then he opened the smallest wooden box, and a pure wood spirit aura rushed out. Inside was a smooth-skinned, fist-sized, pale green fruit. "This is bamboo fruit." After confirming, Chen Mobai immediately closed the box to prevent the loss of spiritual energy. This bamboo fruit took 60 years to mature, and its quality has reached the 2nd-grade superior level. If it were put on the market, it could sell for at least several hundred spirit stones. However, he already knew how to use this bamboo fruit, and had no intention of letting the alchemists from the heavenly river realm waste it. In the divine tree secret realm, he was not highly regarded because the longevity spiritual power contained poison. Let the alchemists of the immortal sects handle it. Chen Mobai opened the last jade box, which was full of red soil, with 6 or 7 jade bamboo shoots emerging from it, covered in red soil. "Wenbai has worked hard too. Here, take these 2 Solomon seal roots." Chen Mobai gave 2 silver-edged jade bamboos from the long jade box to his eldest disciple, who declined several times before finally accepting them. "Zhuo Ming, take 1 too." For Chen Mobai, the first-tier jade bamboo was no longer of any use, but for Zhuo Ming it was a spiritual object, since the bamboo leaves could be used as talisman paper, and the bamboo stem could be made into a talisman pen handle. After the 2 disciples thanked him, they were about to leave. "The day after tomorrow, I will invite a few friends to formally accept you as my disciples." "Yes, Master." Upon hearing this, Liu Wenbai and Zhuo Ming's faces lit up with joy. Although the 3 have already established their respective titles, Chen Mobai can only become their support after a formal apprenticeship ceremony is held. From now on, the 2 of them can act under his name when they go out. I'm going to call you Uncle Master now." On the day of the apprenticeship ceremony, Qi Rui was the first to arrive. He and Chen Mobai were sworn brothers, and even though the latter was now the #1 disciple and even a foundation establishment elder, he was still very open and joked around. In a few years, this title will have to be changed back. This rule is not good. Upon hearing Chen Mobai's words, Chi Rui's face lit up with joy. This meant that he would be able to obtain the next batch of foundation establishment pills and successfully establish his foundation on his first attempt. This has been the rule since ancient times, and it cannot be changed. The two talked for a while longer, and then Zai Jinghuo arrived. Not only him, but also Chi Hu came. Senior brother Chi, what a rare guest. Chen Mobai personally welcomed him up the mountain. Marquis Chi forced a smile. He had been in seclusion since obtaining the foundation establishment pill. Some time ago, he pushed himself too hard because of the divine tree secret realm, but he failed to establish his foundation. Upon seeing Chen Mobai, the young man who once needed his protection to venture into Yunming's for training, now a foundation establishment cultivator, and hailed as one of the two unparalleled talents of the Shenmu sect alongside Hong, Chi, who couldn't help but sigh and call out, "Uncle Master." Here, this is our gift. In contrast, Zai Jinghuo, like Chi Rui, casually handed a jade box to Chen Mobai. Zai is rather simple. Chen Mobai simply set up the apprenticeship ceremony outside the wooden house, holding an open-air ceremony. Cultivators are generally easygoing people, and they didn't feel there was anything wrong. Zai Jinghuo and Chi Hu went directly to Chi Rui's side, and the three of them sat on the ground, forming a circle. The next three to arrive were Yi Yun, Yuan Che, and Yan Jina. The first two were Chen Mobai's good friends, and the last one had taken care of him for a long time in the Divine Wood Palace. After learning about Chen Mobai's background, he was even more eager to befriend him, and they had developed a relationship over time. Once the three of them arrived, the group was basically complete. After all, Chen Mobai didn't know many people in the sect. 2 more invitations were sent to Yue's Yudao and son Gaiacheng, but the former, who doesn't like to go out, asked Yi Yun to deliver a talisman instead. Chen Mobai thanked him and accepted the item. After waiting for a while, son Gaiacheng arrived, bringing Lu Jun and Teng Jai with him. Once everyone had arrived, Chen Mobai asked Liu Wenbai and Zhu Ming to come up and introduce themselves to everyone. His 2 apprentices were both good-looking, a handsome man and a beautiful woman, which drew praise from everyone. Then came the apprenticeship ceremony. The Shenmu sect didn't have so many formalities. Chen Mobai sat in his seat and drank the tea offered by the 2 people, thus establishing their master-disciple relationship. From now on, the 3 of them will share both glory and misfortune. Master, this is a gift from the Liu family's eldest elder, presented to me as a formal apprenticeship present. After serving the tea, Liu Wenbai took out a jade box and presented it to the customer. Chen Mobai was slightly surprised. He took it and saw that it was actually a second-tier magic weapon, an arm guard covered with scales. Please thank the Grand Elder for me. After thinking it over, Chen Mobai decided to accept the magical artifact. He also knew about the Liu family. They started by raising blood carp, and besides the Grand Elder, they also had a foundation establishment cultivator who was a disciple of the 5 Elements sect. Liu Wenbai is now doing very well in the Shenmu sect and is expected to become a true disciple. The resources his family provides are also increasing, and the gifts they give him when he becomes a disciple are exceptionally generous. Second-tier magical artifacts, especially those for defense, are even more valuable. This arm guard could be worth thousands of spirit stones. Master, this is my gift for becoming your disciple. Although Zhu Ming didn't have a cultivation family behind her like Liu Wenbai, she still brought out her most precious treasure. It was a yellowed Taoist book called The Classic of Herbs. You're so thoughtful. Chen Mobai accepted it with a smile without looking at it. He knew his disciple's background. This Taoist book was her family heirloom, and the fact that she was willing to give it to him showed her sincerity. Haha, it seems I've arrived just in time. Just as the apprenticeship ceremony was about to end, a familiar voice rang out in midair. Meng Hong descended from the sky, walking over with a smile. Greetings, sect leader. Rise, all of you, no need for formalities. Meng Hong gestured for everyone not to come over and to make themselves at home, then took out a storage bag and gave it to Chen Mobai. This is what I promised you, and I added a little more. After delivering the gifts, Meng Hong took out 2 bottles of pills from his pocket and gave them to Liu Wenbai and Zhu Ming. Then he waved his hand and sat down without any ceremony. Where's your wine? Didn't Zia Honor say that your wine is exceptional just like your sword? Upon hearing this, Yi Yun felt a little embarrassed. He didn't really want people to know his nickname. Zhu Ming opened the jar. Chen Mobai was naturally generous today, and Zhu Ming, who had brewed the Jade Bud Spirit wine last year, also participated. She delivered the sealed small jars of wine to each guest's table. There's plenty of alcohol tonight. Upon hearing this, Sun Gaicheng's eyes lit up. The guests were all delighted that evening. End of this chapter. Chapter 240, Taking Stock of the Harvest. Chapter 240, Taking Stock of the Harvest. After seeing the guests off, Chen Mobai distributed the gifts he had received. Yi Yun and the others mainly gave him pills or talismans, which were suitable for qi refining cultivators. He divided them equally between Liu Wenbai and Zhu Ming. The former was immediately put into its storage bag, while the latter was held in its hands. This is the storage bag I used before. You can take it and use it. Chen Mobai gave Zhu Ming the storage bag he had bought from Yuan Qi. Besides not wanting his disciple to be too shabby, he also did so because Meng Hong had given him a large storage bag, along with the gifts he had given him earlier that day. The space inside is 10 cubic meters, which is 10 times the size of the storage bag he used before. Adhering to the principle of making the best use of resources, he gave the one he had replaced to his apprentice. Thank you, master. Zhu Ming excitedly accepted the storage bag. It was something she had always dreamed of. This item costs 100 spirit stones in the Lingbao Pavilion, and she has gained the most from today's apprenticeship. How have you two decided regarding the cultivation technique? Now that they had officially become disciples, Chen Mobai naturally wanted to be as responsible as possible, so he inquired about their cultivation progress. Master, after I stopped practicing the Crimson Flame Sword technique, as expected, the longevity scripture showed signs of improvement. I am confident that I can break through to the 9th level of qi refining within 2 years. Liu Wenbai spoke of his own progress in cultivation, his face filled with admiration once again. He originally thought it would be great if he could become a true disciple before the next batch of foundation establishment pills were completed, but now it seems that he might be able to secure his position as a true disciple 3 or 4 years earlier. In the next 2 years, in addition to improving the longevity scripture, I plan to gradually transform the Crimson Flame Sword technique into the family's secret Azure Water technique, and according to my master's wishes, use the water and wood technique to rotate between the 2 phases. Liu Wenbai is quite obedient, probably because he discussed it with his elders in the family. It just so happens that the Liu family's ancestral cultivation method is also water-based, so perhaps they have the idea of having him return to inherit the family business in the future. Very good. With your resources, plus the support of me and senior brother Yi Yun, you should be able to refine at least 2 foundation establishment pills. As for whether you can successfully establish your foundation, that depends on your future opportunities. In his words, Chen Mobai had already made arrangements for the future of his eldest disciple. Upon hearing this, Liu Wenbai, who is usually calm, showed a look of excitement. It should be noted that even with the Liu family's resources, they could not easily purchase a foundation establishment pill. This cannot be measured in spirit stones. It is a strategic resource used by the 7 major sects of the Eastern Wilderness to counterbalance all cultivation forces. However, after becoming Chen Mobai's disciple, Liu Wenbai had at least 2 opportunities to fight for it. Of these, obtaining the first foundation establishment pill was practically guaranteed, but whether or not the second one could be obtained depended on the attitude of the sect's upper echelons at that time. Even so, Liu Wenbai was already very excited. He has become the most likely member of the family in this generation to achieve foundation establishment. That is why the Liu family sent over a second-tier magic artifact, and an extremely precious defensive one at that. Master, I have also decided to switch to cultivating earth attribute techniques. At this moment, Zhuo Ming also revealed her choice. She had also tried cultivating earth elemental energy during this time. Sure enough, compared to the wood elemental energy, which was difficult to cultivate and required extra effort to refine into her body, the earth elemental energy seemed to be eager to squeeze into her body and rushed in. Furthermore, although she had become Chen Mobai's disciple, she knew that if she wanted to obtain the foundation establishment pill, her combat skills must also be improved. Cultivating wood attribute spells was so difficult that it was clearly unacceptable to use that to compete for the position of true disciple. Have you decided which cultivation method to switch to? Chen Mobai was quite satisfied with how obedient his two disciples were. Compared to the individualistic students in the immortal sects, the cultivators here were more receptive to advice. I've looked at a few books in the library, but I don't know how to choose. Could you please give me some guidance, Master? Chen Mobai was troubled after hearing this. In the Divine Wood sect, he had only seriously studied the longevity scripture, the crimson flame sword technique, and the two phases technique. He knew absolutely nothing about earth attribute techniques. Let's go to the library together tomorrow. However, Chen Mobai was somewhat confident in his ability to appraise cultivation techniques, since cultivation techniques were not valuable in the immortal sects. The secret manuals that are treasured here in the Heavenly River realm are shared knowledge on Earthly Star. Many cultivators of the Divine Wood sect can only read a few cultivation manuals in their entire lives, but Chen Mobai has read and understood them carefully, and with the influence of TV shows, movies, and novels, he has read at least hundreds or thousands of them. Moreover, he can use an evening to catch up on his studies. Thank you, Master. Zhuo Ming and Liu Wenbai took their leave. Chen Mobai began to look through the large storage bag that Meng Hong had given him. It was poured out directly, making a splashing sound. A large pile of sparkling, crystalline jade stones made him squint. Wow, so many spirit stones! Chen Mobai scanned the area with his divine sense and had already counted the number. The sect leader's move was indeed extraordinary, amounting to a full 100 mid-grade spirit stones. Converted to commonly used units, that's 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. When Meng Hong finished drinking and left, he said that in view of the value of the information about the great Dao tree that he had contributed, he would give him more than the second-tier magic weapon he had originally promised, as a reward for his unreserved and loyal service to the sect. It just so happens that Chen Mobai recently felt that he was about to complete the 3 Yang body training, and could then begin the 6 Yang body training stage. These mid-grade spirit stones have arrived at just the right time. This is enough for him to cultivate to the point of completing the 4 Yang and 5 Yang stages. Besides spirit stones, the storage bag also contained the second-tier magic weapon that had been promised from the beginning. However, it wasn't one but two. They are 2 flying swords. One of them was the Divine Wood Sword, which Chen Mobai was most familiar with. This was considered the standard flying sword of the Divine Wood sect, with grades ranging from 1st to 3rd. The flying sword given to him was the one he had used during the sect competition. It was probably because they felt he was familiar with it, so they simply retrieved it from the Spirit Plant Department storeroom. However, a second-tier low-grade flying sword is naturally not in line with the sect leader's status and actions. Chen Mobai picked up a hairpin. The hairpin was as blue as jade, with the tip carved into the shape of a swallow and a hint of dark gold. The moment he touched it in his palm, he felt a chilling sword aura. This is also a flying sword. However, it was of the second tier, high grade, and was the prized work of the head of the weapon refining department, named Flying Sparrow Hairpin. This hairpin is carved from a branch of third-tier golden sun wood. It can perfectly withstand the extremely high temperature of the azure sun fire seed and even complement it. If this hairpin is used to unleash the purple fire sword light, its power can be further enhanced. Chen Mobai immediately put it to the test. As he poured the pure purple flame into the flying sparrow hairpin and mastered the sword rainbow's splitting light, a wisp of blue light appeared at the center of the purple fire sword light. The purplish blue color represents the beginning of the fire's flourishing. Once the pure purple turns into pure blue, it signifies the completion of the azure yang fire. If one further cultivates the azure flame sword fiend, then one will truly be invincible below the golden core stage. Meng Hong put a lot of thought into choosing this magical artifact for Chen Mobai. It suits him perfectly. Corresponding to the two magical artifacts, the divine wood sword and the flying sparrow hairpin, there are also two corresponding treasure refining techniques. After reading it, Chen Mobai immediately used his divine sense and spiritual power to refine the two flying swords, one large and one small. His hair had grown long enough. It had always been loose before, but with the hairpin, he could finally style it. Unfortunately, he wasn't good at this, so in the end he simply put his hair up in a bun and then put on the flying sparrow hairpin. As for the divine wood sword, he played with it for a while and then put it aside. Then Chen Mobai took out the azure scale arm guard that Liu Wenbai had given him. There are naturally corresponding techniques for refining magical artifacts. He found this magical artifact to be very interesting and ingeniously designed. This is a defensive magic weapon forged from cold iron and second-tier azure blood carp king scales. Chen Mobai infused his spiritual power, and instantly the blue scales on the surface of his arm guards flew out like a rain of flowers, forming a scale shield in front of him. He used his divine sense to control the divine wood sword to stab, but could only leave a small white mark. He unleashed the sword rainbow strike, but it only shattered 2 or 3 scales, failing to break through the dense scale shield. The most mysterious thing about this scale shield is that it can change shape and move position constantly with divine sense, which is very similar to the water element shield, but the defensive power is worlds apart. Chen Mobai found it very amusing. With a thought, the scales transformed into a mask on his face, covering the lower half of his face, which made his originally handsome features appear mysterious and majestic. He then transformed the scales into a skateboard, stood on it, and sure enough it could be used to fly. The eldest elder of the Liu family is said to be the #1 weapon refiner in the Yun kingdom, and it seems that his reputation is well deserved. Chen Mobai was very fond of this azure scale arm guard. In the Heavenly River realm, a second-tier magic weapon is worth at least 100 spirit stones, while the highest grade ones can even sell for several thousand spirit stones. Although this azure scale arm guard is only a second-tier low-grade item, it is a defensive magic weapon whose price can match that of a second-tier mid-grade flying sword. In addition, it is multifunctional and can probably be sold for nearly 1,000 spirit stones on the market. This apprenticeship ceremony is a bit too extravagant. It seems I'll have to pay more special attention to my eldest disciple, Liu Wenbai, from now on. With the divine wood sword and flying sparrow hairpin for offense, the azure scale arm guard for defense, the sword rainbow dividing light realm, and the azure sun fire seed, Chen Mobai finally felt a little safer. He's now good at both offense and defense, so he should be able to put up a fight against someone in the mid-foundation establishment stage. Chen Mobai, who had no idea about his own combat strength, thought to himself. Wearing the arm guards covered the parts of his body that had been burned by the Qingyang fire. The fire element in the wood element has a property that prevents wounds from healing and will continuously burn the blood and qi throughout the body. However, his injuries have been treated by Master Zheng, and the negative property of burning blood has been removed. Even so, it will still take a month to fully recover. Chen Mobai put the divine wood sword into his storage bag, and then looked through the apprenticeship gift that Zhuo Ming had given him. The classic of Materia Medica. This is a qi cultivation technique with the wood element, which can be cultivated up to the 9th level of qi cultivation. However, it does not record the corresponding spells, but instead includes 2 pill formulas at the end. Seeing this, Chen Mobai knew that Zhuo Ming had indeed given his most precious thing to his teacher. In the heavenly river realm, the value of elixir formulas is even greater than that of cultivation techniques. These two prescriptions are named 100 Herbs Pill and Nourishing Spirit Soup, respectively, and are both first-tier pills. The 100 Herbs Pill is suitable for cultivators in the mid and late stages of qi refining, as it can improve the efficiency of refining spiritual energy. As the name suggests, the nourishing spirit soup can nourish the spirit and consciousness. Long-term consumption during the mid-stage of qi refining will allow one to sense the spirit and consciousness earlier. It can also enhance the spirit and consciousness of those who have already cultivated it. These two pill formulas are invaluable treasures for qi refining cultivators if they can successfully refine them themselves. Unfortunately, Zhuo Ming never thought of refining pills in her life, because she remembered very clearly that her father had worked hard for several years to collect the medicinal materials for the 100 Herbs Pill, and when he tried to refine it himself, the furnace turned to ashes. Even if you ask a rogue alchemist to refine it, you not only need to provide the formula, but also spirit stones, and you also need to collect the medicinal materials yourself. Moreover, the success rate is not guaranteed, and there is a 20% or 30% chance that the furnace will turn to ashes. Having had these experiences, even though Zhu Ming knew that the 100 Herbs Pill and the Nourishing Spirit Soup were extremely precious, she never considered refining them herself. Chen Mobai glanced at it but didn't pay it any mind. The recipes for pill are printed on the packaging of every single pill in the immortal sects. After reading the 100 Herbs Classic, Chen Mobai finally took out the azure wood spirit heart that he had obtained in the divine tree secret realm. This magical object, resembling an emerald, felt cool and comfortable in his palm, and even seemed to make his burns heal faster. He recalled the technique he had obtained from the Tree of Talent to refine the azure wood spirit heart. This spiritual object has been brought back several times since the records of the Divine Tree Secret Realm began. After the Divine Tree sect split from the Five Elements sect, only one senior sister ever obtained it. After taking it, she opened up and expanded her purple mansion, greatly increased her divine sense, and was even able to control a third-order puppet, making her famous in the Divine Wood sect. After reading it, Chen Mobai felt that it was not a good idea to take Bimu Linkson directly. The technique for opening the purple mansion states that how much one's purple mansion can expand after consuming this spiritual item depends entirely on one's own inherent resources. If one's foundation is solid and one's spiritual consciousness is not superficial, one can open up more. Otherwise, one can open up fewer. For a foundation establishment cultivator, being able to refine 70 to 80% of the power of the azure wood spirit heart is already considered to have a profound foundation. However, there is no need to worry about wasting the efficacy of this spiritual item. After the purple mansion is open to its limit, the remaining efficacy will be integrated into the divine consciousness, enhancing the user's divine consciousness realm. But Chen Mobai felt that this was a huge waste. The relationship between the purple mansion and the divine consciousness is like that between a container and water. Divine consciousness is like water. No matter how much it can be enhanced, if the container cannot hold it all, it is all wasted. Conversely, if the container is expanded, even if one's spiritual consciousness is weak and unable to fill the container for a time, it will eventually be full over time. Improving one's spiritual awareness is easy, but expanding one's capacity requires a special opportunity. It should be known that even among immortal sects, there are only a handful of spiritual herbs that can open up the purple mansion, and only golden core cultivators and above are qualified to purchase them. After thinking for a moment, Chen Mobai placed the jade spirit heart into the jade box. I wonder if Qing Nu can refine that kind of pill. He returned to the immortal sect, first contacting Qi Yucheng to cancel his leave, and then calling Qing Nu. However, she seemed to be refining pills and was immediately transferred by the call. After sending a text message, Chen Mobai went to the library of Wuki Dao Academy to check the basic information on Earth attribute Qi cultivation techniques before returning to Xian'anchen. Before going to the library, he used a secondary account to input Zhu Ming's spiritual root information into the Immortal Sect National Library and simulated it. With a clear plan in mind, Chen Mobai opened the cloud formation and led his disciples, who had been waiting at the entrance, down the mountain. End of this chapter. Chapter 240, One Another. Chapter 240, One Another. Library. Chen Mobai sat on the first floor drinking tea, accompanied by his senior brother who was in charge of guarding him. Zhu Ming had already begun choosing the cultivation method she wanted to switch to. After hearing about her request, senior brother Hu pointed her in a direction, the Shenmu sect's earth attribute cultivation methods, which he had compiled there. Uncle Master has excellent judgment. Your disciple has a hidden talent and should be able to successfully establish his foundation in the future. Senior brother Hu, whose real name was Jinshan, looked at Zhu Ming searching through the bookshelves in Section B after pouring Chen Mobai a full cup of his treasured tea. He stroked his white beard and couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions. Oh, senior brother who is also skilled in physiognomy. Chen Mobai found it rather strange. Although Zhu Ming looked delicate and pretty, everyone who met her for the first time felt that she was very unremarkable, like a stone or a blade of grass by the roadside. His aptitude and cultivation level were both average. In other words, he is quite diligent in his work, and he will basically complete the tasks that Chen Mobai asks him to do seriously. Yun and the others all thought that Chen Mobai took her as his disciple because he had no one else to use, and since they were from the same place, they had some kinship. So when Liu Wenbai became a disciple, he also took her into his fold. After all, Liu Wenbai, as the future successor favored by their faction, would certainly not stay by Chen Mobai's side for long. The many fertile fields of Xian'anchen would also need someone to manage them, and Zhu Ming was very lucky to be the only candidate at that time. Throughout the entire Shenmu sect, countless Qi refining disciples envied her. From an ordinary Qi refining level 6 disciple, he rose to become the chief disciple of the Foundation Establishment Elder. Regardless of whether she can become a true disciple in the future, at least after joining Xian'anchen, Zhu Ming will no longer be looked down upon or bullied at will. As long as she herself is unwilling to undertake such a dangerous mission as opening up Yunming's, no one will force her to fight on the battlefield. I have completed the Qi refining stage, but I have not yet reached the Foundation establishment stage. I have also long passed the age of 60, so I don't need to waste time on cultivation. Naturally, I will read some miscellaneous books. This junior sister Zhu looks ordinary, but she has regular features, a round forehead and a smooth jaw. She has the appearance of a first-class lucky person. If she does not cultivate, she will at least live a life of wealth and die peacefully in the secular world. Others may not be able to see it, but I can see the innocence and intelligence hidden between her brows. With you as her master, who can protect her for at least 200 years, she is more than capable of growing up. After hearing Hu Jinshan's words, Chen Mobai couldn't help but show a look of surprise. There are so many interpretations of this round face. How come he can't see that? If he hadn't known through the spirit testing instrument that Zhu Ming's earth spiritual root was exceptional, he would never have believed that she would be able to reach the Foundation establishment stage in the future. I hope my senior brother has a good eye, so that I will have a disciple to take care of me in my old age. Chen Mobai didn't want people to know about Zhu Ming's talent. After all, she hadn't even mastered her divine sense yet. He was already excellent enough in the divine wood sect, so his disciples shouldn't stand out too much. He understood the principle of the tallest tree in the forest stands out. Your hope is probably not going to come true. Judging from my physiognomy, there is a 30% chance that you will form a golden core. At that time, your disciple will probably not live as long as you. Hu Jinshan's words made Chen Mobai burst out laughing. Master, could you help me decide which of these 4 books is the best? At this moment, Zhu Ming also landed, carrying 4 blue-covered books to seek Chen Mobai's opinion. The Earth Mother's skill, The mountain chasing technique, the true method of earth, the fossil treasure scroll. What does senior brother Hu think? As Chen Mobai looked through the 4 cultivation manuals, he asked Hu Jinshan in front of him a question. The latter had spent decades in the library, and although he was only at the qi refining stage, he must know about the exchange of cultivation techniques. The mountain chasing technique is the most popular cultivation method. It involves cultivating a magical artifact called the mountain-turning seal from the qi refining stage. It is considered a weapon-based cultivation method, and its combat power is astonishing among cultivators of the same realm. Moreover, if the magical artifact is well cultivated in the future, it can, in turn, promote the cultivator's own progress. However, it is extremely resource-intensive, and ordinary people cannot afford to cultivate it. The true method of earth is the most comprehensive and is also the qi cultivation method of the earth meridian of the 5-element sect. It is profound and extensive. In theory, after cultivating it to perfection, one can even connect with the supreme method of the 5-element sect, the primordial Tao fruit. Generally, disciples who are ambitious and confident in themselves will choose to cultivate this. The fossil treasure scroll is a qi cultivation technique passed down from the Flying Sand sect in the 10 Directions Hall. Although it is the most exquisite of the 4 techniques, the one collected by the Divine Wood sect can only be cultivated up to the foundation establishment stage. If you want to cultivate this technique, you need to think about this carefully. Finally, there's the Earth Mother technique. Compared to the 3 above, it's not very popular because cultivating this technique requires the secondary skill of cultivating spiritual plants. Its combat power is average, but if one has vast fertile fields and medicinal gardens to utilize it, it becomes the fastest to cultivate. As you know, my Divine Wood sect has many medicinal gardens, so quite a few people exchange for this technique. However, many of them are just absorbing the knowledge within. Most of the exchangers are those who mainly cultivate the longevity scripture. While Hu Jinshan was explaining everything, Chen Mobai had already finished reading the 4 cultivation manuals, and naturally had no doubts in his heart. But since this matter concerns Zhu Ming's entire life, he still gave her a choice. Now that you have become my disciple, I can make you a promise. As long as I am still in the Shenmu sect, as long as you do not want to go to the battlefield, you will not have to fight or kill. After saying this, Chen Mobai picked out the true method of earth and the Earth Mother's skill and placed them on the table. The sect possesses the complete versions of these 2 cultivation techniques, so there's no need to worry about cultivation techniques before reaching the nascent soul stage. If you feel that you can develop in all aspects and have the determination to climb to the peak of cultivation, then choose the true method of earthly branches. If you decide to spend your life peacefully under my tutelage, then choose the Earth Mother technique. I will give you all 60 acres of fertile land at the foot of Zionan Mountain for your cultivation. After hearing this, Zhu Ming's mouth dropped open, and her mind went completely blank. Master, my greatest wish in this life is to establish a foundation. I don't even dare to dream of forming a core. A person should have dreams. Chen Mobai shook his head, somewhat lamenting that even his apprentice's dreams were so humble. The children from the immortal sects all dream of becoming immortals and traveling the universe from a young age. Let's take this one. Chen Mobai picked up the book Earth Mother Technique and then took out 50 spirit stones to help Zhu Ming exchange for this qi cultivation technique. 8th level foundation establishment elders can exchange 3 qi cultivation techniques for free each year. Hu Jinshan smiled and pushed the spirit stone back. Chen Mobai really didn't know this rule. However, considering that there must be many qi refining disciples under the foundation establishment elder, it is estimated that the Divine Wood sect is doing this for the better growth of the next generation. Give me a copy of all 3, except for the mountain chasing technique. Now that he knew, Chen Mobai didn't intend to waste the opportunity. Hu Jinshan nodded, registered the information, swiped the former sect badge, and then gave all 3 cultivation techniques to Zhu Ming. Why give it to her? Her cultivation level is too low right now. It's better to focus on her. Chen Mobai recalled that when he was in school, He wanted a Qi cultivation manual with a beautifully illustrated cover, but his parents used this as an excuse to cruelly cut off his request. He also got to experience being a teacher for a while. He took the true method of Earth and the fossil treasure scroll directly from Zhuo Ming and put them into his storage bag. Zhuo Ming pouted, but dared not resist. With her head down, she quickly stuffed the Earth Mother technique into her storage bag, afraid that if she was too slow, her teacher, who wanted to pass it on to her layer by layer, would simply confiscate it. After returning to Xianenshan, Chen Mobai generously waved his hand, indicating that she would take care of the 60 acres of fertile land at the foot of the mountain and turn the soil. She also needed to take care of the spirit fields on Xiaoyangling where jade sprout spirit rice was being grown. As your teacher, I must go into seclusion to cultivate the supreme sword Dao. It's nothing major. Even if it's just the sect leader visiting, don't disturb him. Zhuo Ming felt both apprehensive and excited. She was apprehensive that she might not be able to manage so much fertile land, but she was also excited that her teacher trusted her so much. It just so happens that the cultivation of the Earth Mother technique also requires this process. In the process of planting, turning the soil and cultivating seeds, a kind of spiritual power called Mother Qi of all things is condensed. By the way, I also have a shop and courtyard in Shenmu City. Remember to take care of them. Spirit wine and spirit rice can be put on the shelves for sale at the same price as in the market. If you have any difficulties, ask your senior brother. After leaving those last words, Chen Mobai went up the mountain and activated the cloud mist array, sealing off the summit of Xiaonan Mountain. Back at the immortal sect, Chen Mobai, who was now attending classes without a care in the world, had only one thought in his mind. It feels so good to be a hands-off manager. Without having to worry about the Divine Wood sect, he focused on his courses at the Dance Weapon Academy. Since he had already reached the foundation establishment stage, his spiritual sense far surpassed that of Qi refining cultivators. With diligent study, his efficiency was 5 times that of his peers. Although he took almost half a year off this year to focus on foundation establishment, he still finished all his courses with near-perfect scores in the final exams at the end of the year. 2 major courses and 4 elective courses, all ranked first. But everyone thought it was only natural. After all, he was the first in his class to reach the foundation establishment stage. Zhongli Tianyu was not included in their count. I really envy you. You can get first place in the exam after just 2 months of studying. After the exam, the small circle of the nascent soul class started another gathering. Ming Yihua held a wine glass and looked at Chen Mobai with a sigh. He had originally thought that he would be the first foundation establishment cultivator in this small circle. How did you develop your criticality method? We have absolutely no clue about it. Yun Yangbing and Wang Xingyu also came over. The people in their class had spent 4 years at the Dance Weapon Academy, and, thanks to the abundant spiritual energy of Chicheng Mountain, had basically all reached the 9th level of Qi refining. However, due to the nascent soul cultivation technique, and after the deduction of the formless puppet, in order to ensure the success of foundation establishment, they also received guidance from Chen Mobai, a successful practitioner, and were all comprehending the critical point method. But only 2 people achieved something. One was Ming Yihua and the other was Lan Yufan. Hey, that's the difference in talent. The one who said this was Ming Yihua. He had already sensed the key to getting stuck and applied for his own foundation establishment 3 treasures at the end of the year, along with a bottle of profound fire spirit liquid. He planned to rent a cultivation room in Building 9 during his vacation, and wait for that sliver of mysterious opportunity to try and break through to the foundation establishment realm. Seeing Ming Yihua's irritating behavior, the others were naturally indignant. They grabbed their cups and swarmed over him, intending to force him to drink the water down his throat. Cough, cough, cough. When the party ended, Ming Yihua coughed several times by the roadside before finally expelling all the alcohol from his stomach. Why are these bastards always trying to force-feed me? Since Lan Yufan and Lu Zixuan are sitting together, and he has his girlfriend as a shield, we feel embarrassed to offer them drinks. The speaker was Yun Yangbing, and the response he received was a middle finger from Ming Yihua. Here, this is a special spirit gathering array that I crafted. It can raise the level of your spirit vein by 1 grade. If you open a high-grade 3rd tier 1, this array can help you raise it to a low-grade 4th tier 1. Wow, Lao Yun, how did you do that? Ming Yihua snatched a canvas bag from Yun Yangbing's hand, took out an array plate and 8 array flags, and couldn't help but marvel. You should know that their students can only apply for a 3rd tier high-grade spiritual vein cultivation room at most, and even that requires the teacher's signature. Generally, it can only be approved when applying for foundation establishment for the first time. They had been in the Tao Academy for 4 years and had never experienced a 4th-order spiritual vein. You can't tell anyone, just keep it to yourself. Don't spread it around. If the school finds out, we'll probably get punished. Is there something wrong with your formation? Could it be that you found a bug in the formation of Building 9? You're overthinking it. This specially made spirit gathering array only works for a short time. You can only use it at crucial moments. The 3 sat down by the mountain road and talked for a while, before Yun Yangbing finally sighed. I never expected to be the last one. Haha, next year it'll be your turn. That was all Chen Mobai could say. Then he asked Ming Yihua about the matter he had asked him to do. How is my talisman pen? It's ready. He'll deliver it personally in a couple of days. But have you exchanged the qi condensation liquid you promised him? I'll go exchange it tomorrow. After all, credits aren't easy to earn. Because the bamboo fruit of the golden-edged jade bamboo had absorbed all the spiritual energy when it matured, the bamboo body withered. After it was sent there for testing, it was found that it could not be used as the handle of a 2nd-tier talisman brush. Therefore, the talisman maker introduced by Ming Yihua added his own materials and used rabbit hair and wolf hair to help Chen Mobai make 2 2nd-tier talisman pens, 1 large and 1 small. In exchange, Chen Mobai will help the talisman maker obtain a condensing liquid. I waited for 2 days. The talisman maker arrived. He was also a young man, a classmate of Ming Yihua in high school. He had good grades and was admitted to the Heavenly Book Academy among the 10 great academies. After the transaction was completed, Ming Yihua took him sightseeing for 2 days. Chen Mobai, on the other hand, had already boarded the train home. When he left, he also used 20 credits to exchange for a vermilion fruit in the Tao Academy's treasury, as Qing Nu had requested, and took it with him. This vermilion fruit tree is a unique spiritual tree of Chicheng Mountain. 1 tree is planted on each mountain peak, and it is a key research subject of the spirit plant class. The quality of the vermilion fruit tree varies, and Chen Mobai naturally cannot afford to exchange for the highest grade 4th grade vermilion fruit. The vermilion fruit he brought home was only at the 2nd level, but even so, it nearly cost him all his credits. End of this chapter. Chapter 242 Life Winner. Chapter 242 Life Winner. Indeed, the vermilion fruit is a specialty of Chicheng Mountain, with the warmth of fire spirit. In the alchemy room of the Treasure Bottle Pharmacy in Dengxia City, Qing Nu took the jade box handed to her by Chen Mobai, opened it, and nodded in satisfaction. This thing can only be picked after the exchange is confirmed. As soon as I heard your request, I took Wang Xingyu, the top alchemist of our year, and searched every mountain peak of Chicheng Mountain for the vermilion fruit trees and selected the best quality one among the 2nd-tier ones. For this matter, Chen Mobai even took a week off during the final exams to tutor Wang Xingyu. Let me take another look at your bamboo fruit. King Nu opened another jade box that Chen Mobai had placed on the table. The pure and refreshing spiritual energy made her squint her eyes and nod slightly. Now that we have the 2 main medicines, we still need 24 auxiliary medicines. Are you ready? The elixir they were preparing to refine was called Clear Eye Bamboo Spirit Dew, a spiritual water used to cultivate eyesight and enhance spiritual consciousness. Chen Mobai's eyesight has slightly decreased due to his long-term practice of the Crimson Flame Sword technique and his prolonged focus on the Azure Yang Flame Seed. So he consulted King Nu about any magic cure for this situation. It just so happens that bamboo fruit has the medicinal effect of brightening the eyes and refreshing the mind. King Nu consulted a lot of information from Jumeng Taoist Academy and found the recipe for bambusa spirit dew for brightening the eyes. Bamboo fruit is cold in nature, so it needs another mild and yang-tonifying spiritual fruit as the main ingredient to neutralize it. The zhu fruit, a specialty of Wuki Daeyuan, perfectly meets the requirements. The 24 auxiliary drugs are even simpler. When there is trouble, the disciples will do the work. Chen Mobai made a special trip back to the heavenly river realm for this matter, and then summoned his eldest disciple after emerging from seclusion, entrusting him with the task. Liu Wenbai lived up to expectations. Despite the different names of the medicinal herbs in the two realms, he managed to collect all 18 of them by relying on Chen Mobai's hand-drawn illustrations and descriptions of their properties. Given time, he should be able to purchase the remaining 6 types as well. But Chen Mobai stopped tormenting his disciple. He went back to the immortal sect and spent 200,000 merit points to buy the remaining 6 items. To refine this clear eyes bamboo spirit dew, Chen Mobai invested over 100 spirit stones and 200,000 merit points in the auxiliary medicine. Fortunately, the bamboo fruit was an unexpected gain, and the vermilion fruit could also be exchanged for academic points. Otherwise, in the heavenly river realm, it would take at least 1,000 spirit stones to gather the materials needed for this one refining. It takes half a month to extract the medicinal properties of these 2 main ingredients, so it looks like my holiday this year is ruined. King Nu said something that sounded like a complaint, and Chen Mobai could only give an awkward smile. Thank you for your hard work. It's no trouble at all. You just need to give my younger siblings some guidance in their cultivation. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai immediately patted his chest and promised to complete the mission. Kong Feiken and Yang Jing have also returned this year, probably because Qing Nu summoned them. By the way, what's the best way to deal with this azure wood spirit heart? After discussing the minor matters, Chen Mobai and King Nu moved on to the main event. Clear Eye Bamboo Spirit Dew is only a second-tier spiritual water. After the second semester at Jumeng Academy, Qing Nu passed the assessment for a second-tier alchemist. As long as she is careful, there is basically no possibility of failure in refining this kind of spiritual water. But the azure wood spirit heart is different. Chen Mobai has checked and found that in the immortal sects, spiritual objects that can open up the purple mansion sea of consciousness are at least third order. Although Qing Nu was already learning the knowledge of a third-level alchemist, there was still a possibility of failure when refining third-level pills. I checked the information, and it's actually best to refine this thing in its original form. However, with your current foundation establishment level 1 cultivation, it's indeed impossible for you to perfectly absorb the effects of the azure wood spirit heart in one go. It just so happens that you have an old classmate who cultivates ice spiritual power. You can absorb a portion of it first, and then have her cast an ice sealing spell to reseal this activated azure wood spiritual heart. I will prepare a batch of Yuanling water and buy a sealed container. With triple sealing and warming, the spirituality of the jade wood spirit heart will not be lost. After listening, Chen Mobai couldn't help but give Qing Nu a thumbs up. As expected of a professional, there's no time like the present, so after listening to King Nu's plan, he immediately picked up his phone and called Yan Bingxuan. Hey, old classmate, are you back? You arrived yesterday. Why didn't you tell me? I could have picked you up at the station. It's all right. It's been a long time since we last met. How about we go out for a meal together? Nobody, just acquaintances. Okay, see you tonight. After making the appointment with the beautiful Yan, Chen Mobai gestured to Qing Nu as if to say, "It's all done," completely unaware that the corner of the pretty young woman's mouth twitched slightly. By the way, where are your younger brother and sister? Would you like to come along? I just brought 2 of the purest tasting blood carp from my hometown. They're an absolute delicacy you've never tasted before. The mainstay of Chen Mobai's eldest apprentice's family is fishing. At the end of the year, this teacher expressed that he missed the taste of the blood carp very much. When Liu Wenbai delivered New Year's gifts, he specially gave him a tank of 9 fish. One of them was even a second-tier azure blood carp king. King Nu was still a little angry, but when she thought of the delicious fish that Chen Mobai had brought earlier, she swallowed and nodded involuntarily. At least he still remembers that I like to eat fish. 2 fish seemed like just enough for 5 people, so Chen Mobai didn't call for any more. Hey, class monitor, what brings you here? When Yan Bingxuan arrived, she brought Mo Simon with her. Chen Mobai wondered to himself if there wouldn't be enough food. On the way, when Mo Simon saw Chen Mobai and Qing Nu already sitting down, her lips twitched. However, she was worried about her naive best friend Yan Bingxuan going to the battlefield alone. With the mentality of if I don't go to hell, who will? She resolutely followed along. All right then, boss, bring the food. After all, they were old classmates, so Chen Mobai wouldn't kick them out. They ate at the same restaurant they had gone to 4 years ago when they parted ways. He had already sent 2 blood carp to the restaurant, and they were now grilled to perfection. Where are your younger brother and sister? Why haven't they arrived yet? After the dishes were served, Chen Mobai noticed that Kong Feiken and Yang Jing had not yet arrived, so he asked King Nu beside him. Something came up slightly, I'll be there soon. They waited for half an hour, until Chen Mobai and the others had finished eating a piece of food before the 2 arrived. Hurry up, we're waiting for you. Luckily, I had the foresight to leave one. A year had passed, and Kong Feiken had become even more mature. He was wearing a white coat and had his hair parted in the middle. After arriving, he greeted everyone before sitting down. Yang Jing was different. He sat down without saying a word and started eating right away. By the way, wasn't it said that the success rate of establishing a foundation with a different spiritual root was very high? How come you failed? Chen Mobai brought up the very thing that was most sensitive to, and Kong Feiken glared at him, instantly losing all taste for the delicious food he was eating. He has a knot in his heart, or in ancient terms, a demon in his heart. He cannot go any further without breaking through the demon in his heart. King Nu didn't hide anything, quickly picking up fish pieces while talking about her younger brother. Inner demons. Chen Mobai glanced at Yang Jing, who had been eating non-stop since sitting down. It's pretty much what you're thinking, so I might need your help. How can I help? Putting aside his relationship with Qing Nu, Kong Feiken had run errands for them several times in the past 2 years, so it was only right that he helped. We'll talk about it later, let's eat first. After saying this, King Nu lowered her head and began devouring the fish meat again. This fish tastes even better than last time. After finishing her meal, Yan Bingxuan gracefully put down her chopsticks and wiped her mouth. That's right, it's a specialty of my hometown, you can't find it anywhere else. I've been to your hometown, and there's no such fish there. Huh? Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai looked surprised and doubtful. He stared blankly at Yan Bingxuan, not understanding why this person would actually travel so far just to eat fish. Really? Everyone who heard Yan Bingxuan's words stopped eating in shock, and Mo Simon couldn't help but ask a question. I came back during the 2nd year's holiday, but none of you were there. I didn't know how to kill time, so I took a spontaneous trip and went to Qingshan village. The wine there is good, but they don't have this kind of fish. Yan Bingxuan's pure gaze met Chen Mobai's, who couldn't help but look away, but quickly came up with a reason. It was my fault for not explaining clearly. The Taixu Mountains are vast. Actually, there is a lake 3 hills away from Qingshan village. It connects directly to an underground river. The fish that live there are the ones we eat. Take me to see it sometime. All right, but I need to work with Qing Nu to refine the clear eye bamboo spirit dew for a while, so I might not have time for another half-month. As he said this, Chen Mobai pretended to be overwhelmed with other matters, shaking his head and sighing. Oh, I see. When Yan Bingxuan said this, her tone remained unchanged, but Chen Mobai felt inexplicably guilty. Really, I'm not lying to you. I happen to have a medicinal herb that I need your help to freeze. Really? Okay, I'll help you. Whether it was a misperception or not, Chen Mobai felt that Yan Bingxuan's last words revealed a different kind of emotion. King Nu only wants to say one thing right now. What business is it of yours what I do with alchemy? I can handle it all by myself. Are you all just making things worse? However, considering that Chen Mobai might be in trouble, she pouted and continued eating the fish in silence. Kong Fiken clenched his fists tightly. If he hadn't known he couldn't win, he would have been tempted to fight back. After paying the bill, everyone went their separate ways. When Chen Mobai arrived home, his parents were sitting in the living room watching TV. "Son, your uncle is arriving tomorrow night. Go pick him up from the airport, and then invite your aunt's family along so we can all have dinner together." "Okay, Mom. Are you planning to go back to Kingshan Village anytime soon?" "No, why?" Chen Mobai shook his head to indicate that it was nothing. He couldn't very well say that he needed to set up the scene, and that the azure blood carp was indeed a specialty of the Taeksu Mountains. "Well, I'll just take it one step at a time. If things get really bad, I'll just say I have something to do at school and need to go back early because I'm really too busy." With this thought in mind, Chen Mobai returned to his room. Strangely enough, after he achieved foundation establishment and returned to his hometown, all those annoying paparazzi reporters disappeared without a trace, and not a single one of them appeared before him. This is probably what it means to have reached a higher level of understanding. With that thought in mind, Chen Mobai sat cross-legged on his bed, holding a spirit stone, and began to cultivate the pure Yang Dharma body. Today is the day he successfully cultivated the three Yang body. When midnight arrived and the spirit stone in his palm dried up, Chen Mobai finished circulating his energy. The three-colored spiritual light within his body disappeared, and he opened his eyes. Spiritual roots: metal 23, wood 31, water 21, fire 44, earth 10. Looking at the results displayed on the spirit tester's screen, Chen Mobai couldn't help but sigh. At least there's something worth watching. His wood elemental root had been enhanced again after eating the jade bamboo shoots. However, after raising his wood spirit root to 33 points, the jade bamboo shoots no longer had any effect on him. It seemed to be a bottleneck. He lost 2 points again while cultivating the three Yang body. He wondered if he could recover them by eating bamboo shoots. As for the water elemental root, forget about it. The azure blood carp was useless to him a long time ago, and after he mastered the three Yang body, his elemental root value in that area plummeted. Once you reach the 4 Yang realm, you will drop below 20. However, this means he has returned to the realm of true spiritual roots, which is a mixed blessing. But the best news is that he can now attempt to build a foundation using the pure Yang scroll. With his high foundation in the foundation establishment realm, it was incredibly easy for him to return to cultivating the pure Yang Qi refining chapter. Within half a year, he directly brought his pure Yang spiritual power to the 9th level of Qi refining perfection. If it weren't for waiting for him to complete the three Yang body, he could have already released the critical technique and started the 2 phases cycle. But this is good. It's a good opportunity to give a live demonstration of how to build a foundation. The next day, Chen Mobai went to the airport to pick up Chen Baolan, and then joined his aunt's family to celebrate his successful foundation building. After the family celebration, the principal of Xianmen 5th High School came to visit. Naturally, they wanted to invite Chen Mobai, a well-known alumnus, back to take some photos and incidentally request his calligraphy, planning to put up a banner. There was no way to postpone it, so I could only go with a wry smile. With the principal's arrangement, reporters finally dared to take pictures. On the wall of the corridor of the 5th High School of the Immortal sect, there is a new photo of Chen Mobai looking into the distance. After the news spread, his former classmates learned that this top student who had been admitted to the Dance Weapon Academy had actually succeeded in establishing his foundation and would be returning home in glory this year. They couldn't help but invite Chen Mobai to reminisce. Helpless, he could only ask his old squad leader Mo Simon to help organize a get-together. At the same restaurant where they had their graduation farewell dinner, Chen Mobai and his group ran into Gong Xiangyu and his group. It was a gathering of old classmates, and naturally, the group centered around Qing Nu, who had the heavenly spiritual root from the Jumeng Dao Academy. What a coincidence! Gong Xianyu's face turned red and then pale. He knew he couldn't confront Chen Mobai, a Foundation establishment cultivator, head-on, but with so many classmates behind him, and since he had organized the event, he absolutely couldn't back down. "Okay, don't forget to come tomorrow. I'll be waiting for you at the usual place." Just as I was about to step forward and say a few words, a crisp sound rang out from behind me. He didn't need to turn around to know that it was Qing Nu's voice. At this moment, Gong Xiangyu realized that he was no longer qualified to talk to Chen Mobai. "Do you want me to come help tomorrow?" The person who asked this question was Yan Bingxuan, who was standing next to Chen Mobai. A couple of days ago, he had mentioned that he needed her help with something. "Okay, that works too." Chen Mobai seemed to agree, rather reluctantly. Upon witnessing this scene, everyone had only one thought in their minds. Is this what it means to be a winner in life? Damn, I'm so envious. End of this chapter. Chapter 243, Refining the Azure Wood Spirit Heart. Chapter 243, Refining the Azure Wood Spirit Heart. Gong Xianyu found the meal very unpleasant. Downstairs, Chen Mobai was chatting and laughing with Lu Hengsheng and the others, reminiscing about all the embarrassing things that happened to them in high school. "You're really something." Yuan Qing tried to break through to the Foundation establishment stage by trying to learn from you, but he failed. Looking at the radiant Chen Mobai, Shi Jingjing couldn't help but sigh. "Oh, is it all right?" Chen Mobai had a deep impression of Shi Yuanqing. After all, he was the second most talented person in their class at the 5th high school of the immortal sect, and he broke through to the 9th level of qi refining during the battle, which amazed the representatives of the Dao Academy. His qi and blood were slightly depleted, so Su Yuan rushed over to take care of him. Fortunately, he did not fall from his cultivation level. It seems that the critical method has not been mastered. After hearing Shi Jingjing's words, Chen Mobai felt sorry for Shi Yuanqing. His enrollment in Taiyuan Academy would certainly give him the opportunity to come into contact with the critical path technique. However, this profound skill is extremely dependent on talent, and even among the 4 major academies, there are some people who cannot comprehend it. By the way, didn't Cao Yaling say she would come with you? Why haven't I seen her? After walking around and clinking glasses with Song Zheng, who was sitting in the corner, Chen Mobai realized he couldn't find his old classmate. He returned to his seat and asked Shi Jingjing. Her void insight eye, which she cultivated, sensed an opportunity for a breakthrough, and not wanting to miss it, didn't come. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai suddenly remembered. These 2 female classmates, who are among the best in their year, both cultivate the spirit eye technique. He just happens to be refining the clear eye bamboo spirit dew, so perhaps he can also cultivate this kind of technique while he's at it. You want to cultivate too. It's not impossible, but we cultivate this to inherit the jade shop. This stuff doesn't help with cultivation at all. Shi Jingjing hesitated for a moment before reminding Chen Mobai. After all, she didn't want her promising old classmate to waste time on such a useless spell. "I should be able to enter the back mountain of the Dance Weapon Academy next year and choose a suitable magic weapon from the Myriad Treasures Cave. If I master this magic, it will definitely be of great help." Wanbyaku. Many people don't know about this place. Just as Chen Mobai was about to explain, Song Zheng, who was sitting in the corner, spoke up. He enrolled in the Heavenly Book Academy and happened to see the Myriad Treasures Cave in the books on campus. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at Chen Mobai with even more envy. "Old Chen, you're so awesome. Do you think you'll be able to pick a 3rd-tier magic weapon?" "What nonsense are you talking about? A mere 3rd rank is not enough. It should be at least 4th rank." When I entered high school, I could tell that old Chen was no ordinary person. He had a purple aura and amazing luck. I thought he might be able to obtain an unparalleled 5th-tier magic weapon. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai felt a headache coming on. These guys are drunk, and they're talking nonsense. Of the 1,000 students who entered the Myriad Treasures Cave, more than 99% only obtained 2nd-tier magic weapons. On average, only one lucky person can obtain a 3rd-tier magic weapon every 20 years. As for fourth-tier magical artifacts, the last one obtained was by the current headmaster of the Dance Weapon Academy, which was more than 600 years ago. Fifth Order. It seems that Wanbao Cave doesn't have any artifacts of this caliber. Seeing that his classmates boasting about him was becoming increasingly irrational, Chen Mobai quickly raised his glass and changed the subject. Come to my house when you have time. With your current level of cultivation, only my father can communicate with you through the spirit eye spell. As the event ended, Shi Jingjing left these words. Her father was a master appraiser of jewelry, jade, antiques, and magical artifacts in Dangxia City, and also a foundation establishment cultivator. After thanking her, Chen Mobai also asked her to convey his blessings for Cao Yaling's breakthrough. The next day, in the alchemy room of Beiping Pharmacy, Chen Mobai introduced Azure Wood Spirit Heart to Yan Bingxuan. This time, she finally didn't bring Mo Simon with her, and with no one else around, Chen Mobai felt a sense of relief. Meanwhile, Qing Nu was intently preparing the Yuanling water. I understand. After explaining why he needed Yan Bingxuan's help, she looked enlightened, nodded, and said she would definitely complete the task. Is this where you usually work? Since it would take some time for Qing Nu to prepare the Yuanling water, Chen Mobai and Yan Bingxuan watched and chatted. Back in high school, the reason I was able to make rapid progress in my cultivation before the college entrance examination was thanks to the chi-replenishing spiritual water refined by Qing Nu. She can be said to be my biggest help in getting into the Dance Weapon Academy. There are thousands of people in the late stage of chi refining in high school, but only about 200 can be admitted to the 4 major academies. You are where you are today entirely because of yourself. Yan Bingxuan, however, was a serious person and shook her head, denying Chen Mobai's modesty. Haha, I'm getting proud just hearing you say that. Snap! The glass container that Qing Nu was mixing suddenly cracked, making a crisp sound that startled Chen Mobai. What's wrong? What happened? It's all right. The Yuanling water has been successfully refined, but ordinary containers cannot withstand its sealing medicinal power. I'll just replace it with the sealing bottle you bought. Qing Nu turned around, squinted her eyes and smiled, then spread her 5 fingers, picked up the broken glass shards and threw them into the special trash can. With her other hand, she used her extraordinary spiritual power to control a ball of blue solution floating in midair, which she then poured into a pre-prepared square bottle. That's great, let's begin. Chen Mobai immediately said happily, and then excitedly took out the jade wood spirit heart, went to the futon in the corner of the alchemy room, and began to absorb and refine this spiritual object. Qing Nu took a deep breath, then walked to his side with a bright smile. Yan Bingxuan also walked over silently. The 2 women stood on either side of the handsome young man sitting cross-legged, holding the jade spirit heart in their hands, watching as strands of azure light drifted into Chen Mobai's brow like willow catkins. Waiting quietly. What kind of spiritual eye does my nephew wish to cultivate? In the main hall of Qingyuzhai, the largest jewelry and jade hall in Dangxia City, a middle-aged man with a refined appearance and a mustache was talking to Chen Mobai with a smile. Uncle Shi, it's like this. Because I cultivate the pure Yang scroll, I need to stare at the flames for a long time, and recently I've noticed my eyesight is declining. Also, we're about to go to the Myriad Treasures Cave, where there are many magical artifacts. I want to choose one that suits me. To be honest, I definitely hope to choose a 3rd-tier artifact. So I wanted to ask you, as a professional, if there is a spiritual eye that can easily see through flames and discern the true nature of magical artifacts. This middle-aged man is Shi Jingjing's father, named Shi Qijin, who is one of the few 3rd-level appraisers in Dangxia City. Generally speaking, spiritual eyes focus on a specific function. For example, the void-piercing spiritual eye that I cultivate is mainly used to see the spiritual energy contained in objects. If you want to select magical artifacts, you can cultivate this. As for fire-related spiritual eyes, there are a few, the most top tier of which I remember is the Candle Dragon Divine Eye Technique from the Kunpeng Academy. Once mastered, One can control the great sun fire, the Taiyan fire, and the star fire. I wonder if your dance weapon academy has any of these in its collection. Shiquijin, as expected of a foundation establishment cultivator specializing in spiritual vision, resolved Chen Mobai's doubts with a single sentence. Thank you, uncle. I'll ask my teacher when I get back to the academy, but just in case, are there any other options besides the candle dragon divine eye technique? As Chen Mobai spoke, he poured Shiquijin a full cup of tea. Besides the two of them, Shi Jingjing and Cao Yaling were also present. The latter's insightful eyes had reached a higher level, but perhaps because she had just broken through, her eyes were still overflowing with spiritual light, and she could not yet contain it. Chen Mobai poured drinks for his two old classmates, and they immediately thanked him. The stargazing techniques of the Stargazing Academy, the celestial phenomena eye of the Natural Academy, the fiery eyes of the Pure Yang Academy, and the cave heaven eye of the Heavenly Book Academy are all acceptable. When you have time, go to the Immortal Sects spellbook and look at the descriptions and compare them. But the best one is definitely the Candle Dragon Divine Eye Technique. Moreover, if you just want to look directly at flames, once you've mastered the void-piercing eyes, as long as you don't look directly at those high-grade heaven and earth spiritual flames, it won't be a problem. Chen Mobai firmly remembered Shiquijin's words. He had already begun refining the clear eye bamboo spirit dew, and didn't want to waste the efficacy of this spiritual water. Moreover, he felt that he would definitely be able to pick up bargains in the heavenly river realm in the future, so he needed to cultivate the void spirit eye. As for the candle dragon divine eye technique, it sounds very high-end and not suitable for me, so I won't consider it for now. Thank you, uncle. This is a spirit wine brewed in my hometown. Please try it. Chen Mobai naturally didn't come empty-handed to ask for advice, but Shiquijin declined twice before reluctantly accepting it. Nephew, please come visit more often when you have time. After personally seeing Chen Mobai off, Shiquijin asked her daughter and apprentice a question. Does this student have a girlfriend? It's been going on for a while. We were talking about it back in high school. Shi Jingjing naturally understood the meaning behind her father's words and immediately cut off the topic he was about to discuss. What a pity, why didn't you seize the opportunity? Faced with Shiquijin's regret, Shi Jingjing recounted Chen Mobai's romantic history in a rather irritating manner. He has two girlfriends. One has a heavenly spiritual root and the other has an ice spiritual root. Oh no, that won't do. Bigamy is illegal in the immortal sect. You should try to persuade him. His bright future can't be ruined by such a mistake. Shiquijin was greatly surprised when he heard this. He really hadn't realized that Chen Mobai was this kind of person. We're not married yet, are we? Suddenly, Cao Yaling said something that made Shiquijin and his daughter Shi Jingjing look at each other in bewilderment. My disciple, it's best not to try and win this person over. After learning about Chen Mobai's love history from her daughter, Shiquijin retracted her previous words and offered gentle advice. What are you thinking, master? Cao Yaling realized at this moment that her previous statement was ambiguous and immediately explained. Meanwhile, Chen Mobai boarded a bus, intending to go to Kingnu's rented apartment. However, as soon as he got in the car, he frowned. He saw someone who shouldn't be there. Long time no see. From the last row, Lan Haitian waved to Chen Mobai. The latter hesitated for a moment, considering that he had already established his foundation and was a student of the Dance Weapon Academy, and also wanted to know what this guy was up to, so he went over. After getting off the car, Chen Mobai frowned, immediately put the matter out of his mind and went upstairs in the elevator. When Kong Feiken opened the door and saw him, he remained expressionless. How is your sister? Chen Mobai walked in, seemingly familiar with the place. Since he refined half of the azure wood spirit heart, his purple mansion sea of consciousness has expanded by nearly 2 times, and his divine sense has also increased somewhat. The remaining half was frozen by Yan Bingxuan, and then stored in a container of Yuanling water. Later, Kingnu also told him what she wanted his help with. Because Yang Jing was forced by his adoptive parents to cultivate two parts of divine arts, a second personality developed within him when he was young. However, this personality, due to her childhood aspirations, transformed into a snake, causing her to unconsciously sleepwalk and wriggle every time she falls asleep. After Yang Jing's adoptive parents were arrested, the law enforcement cultivators of the immortal sect sealed away his second personality. However, this seal needs to be reinforced at all times and cannot be relaxed. In order to help her, Kong Fiken practiced this sealing technique. However, his cultivation level was still too weak. By the time Yang Jing had mastered divine sense, his sealing technique was no longer under his control. Fortunately, at that time, Qing Nu had become Gu Changfeng's disciple. As a foundation establishment cultivator, the latter could easily form a solid seal with his actions. But Gu Changfeng has been imprisoned for 4 years for labor reform, and the seal he set up has begun to weaken. Practicing forbidden techniques is a very shameful thing in the immortal sects, and Yang Jing's appearance as a writhing snake is really unsightly. So Qing Nu and Kong Fiken did not want others to know about this. They originally thought that once they successfully established their foundation, they could easily resolve this matter. However, King Nu wasted a lot of time before entering university, and she is only at the 9th level of Qi refining now. If she takes the 3 treasures of foundation establishment, she will definitely be able to successfully establish her foundation. But Jumeng Academy does not allow her to do so because of her heavenly spiritual root aptitude. Her mentor hoped that King Nu could hear the Tao and build a foundation, so that the most perfect foundation for the Tao would be naturally formed. This way, the process of forming the core will be just as smooth, and with the addition of the essential medicine for core formation, it will be almost a sure thing. So the task fell to Kong Fiken, but the more anxious he was, the less likely he was to succeed. King Nu exchanged jade marrow pills for him, and Chen Mobai also exchanged profound fire spirit liquid from the Dance Weapon Academy. In addition, with a complete set of foundation establishment 3 treasures, Kong Fiken still failed. Just as King Nu was about to confront her mentor in desperation, they saw Chen Mobai's post on WeChat Moments. Foundation building successful. King Nu felt that heaven was helping her, and that the boy would always stand up for her when she needed help the most. How come you're so slow at practicing a sealing technique, and you're a student at the Dance Weapon Academy? Kong Fiken and Chen Mobai walked into the living room. Yang Jing was sitting on the sofa watching TV quietly. When he saw the latter come in, he looked up and greeted him. I'm doing this to be absolutely sure. This is your and King Nu's sister, so naturally we have to be extremely cautious. But don't worry, I'm now fully confident. Today, we'll reinforce her seal. Chen Mobai would naturally not admit that he had no talent for sealing techniques, which was why it took him nearly 10 days to learn it. Thank you for your hard work. Huh? Chen Mobai thought he had misheard, so he turned to look at Kong Fiken, whose face was flushed, wanting to hear it again, but the latter simply turned his head away. How come I never noticed before that this guy has such an awkward personality? With a light laugh to himself, Chen Mobai sat down on the sofa and extended his right index finger toward Yang Jing, who was looking over. Relax a little, I'll try to be as fast as I can. Yang Jing nodded and then closed his eyes. Chen Mobai drew a complex pattern in the air with his index finger. Then his divine sense surged out and transformed into a golden, shimmering rhombus mark, which landed on Yang Jing's smooth forehead along with his finger. A ding sounded. As the seal closed, Chen Mobai was about to retract his finger when Yang Jing suddenly opened his eyes and revealed a strange smile. End of this chapter. Chapter 244 Ascension Cult. Chapter 244 Ascension Cult. Just as Chen Mobai frowned, a long dark shadow shot out from Yang Jing's open mouth like a serpent. A scorching aura erupted, and a wisp of purple flame rose from Chen Mobai's palm, burning the black shadow. However, the invisible divine consciousness attached to it passed through the blockade of the purple fire sword energy and entered Chen Mobai's purple mansion sea of consciousness. Astral projection. Could it be that Yanjing has already achieved foundation building? Chen Mobai frowned, but since it concerned his own purple mansion sea of consciousness, he dared not be negligent and decided to immediately calm his mind and meditate to investigate. At the same time, Yang Jing, who had been quiet, suddenly grinned, a cold, bestial glint in his eyes, and bit at Chen Mobai with a savage smile. What happened? Did something go wrong with the seal? At this moment, Kong Feiken, who had witnessed this scene, was anxious and wanted to come over. Could it be that what that guy said was true? A click sounded as he muttered to himself. A patch of dark blue light emanated from Chen Mobai's right sleeve, shooting out in an instant and transforming into fine, shimmering blue chains that bound Kong Feiken and Yang Jing's hands and feet, effectively suspending them in midair. Both of you shut up until I get to the bottom of this. After saying this, Chen Mobai sat down on the sofa and closed his eyes. His mind sank directly into the purple mansion sea of consciousness. Then he saw a shadowy snake coiled around the sapling of the Paulonia tree that his divine consciousness had separated, its two scarlet points resembling snake eyes, flashing with unconscious chaos. There's not much to say. Chen Mobai activated his divine sense and crushed the shadow serpent. In terms of spiritual power, he has only been at the foundation establishment stage for half a year, and he still has some lingering poisoning from pills, so there may still be some deficiencies. But his spiritual consciousness is the most solid. The solid foundation of the nourishing mind and forging divine art, the self-created painless splitting of divine consciousness, plus the newly refined azure wood spiritual heart that opened up a purple mansion sea of consciousness more than twice as spacious. In terms of spiritual sense alone, he is already among the most outstanding cultivators in the early stages of foundation establishment. He is even comparable to those mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators who do not cultivate spiritual sense, but merely use their cultivation level to enhance their spiritual sense. After tearing the shadow serpent to shreds with the Qing Tong seedling that had materialized from his divine consciousness, Chen Mobai carefully checked his purple mansion sea of consciousness. Only after confirming that there were no hidden dangers did he open his eyes with peace of mind. What exactly do you want? Kong Feiken, who was hanging in midair in the living room by the azure scale arm guard, was still struggling violently. His eyes widened as he tried to gather his wind spiritual power to cut the azure scale chains binding his hands and feet, but the power of a second-tier magic weapon was beyond the reach of a mere chi-refining cultivator like himself. Once his spiritual power tries to emerge from his body, it is instantly shattered by a scale, making it impossible to form a wind blade spell. On the other side, Yang Jing, who had been writhing and grinning, collapsed and fainted the moment the shadow serpent was defeated. Quiet down. Chen Mobai snapped his fingers, and 5 more green scales flew out, sticking to Kong Feiken's upper and lower lips. Then he placed Kong Feiken on the floor, making him feel a little better. Then he flicked his finger, and the blue scale chains on Yang Jing's hands and feet, who was unconscious in midair, lit up with spiritual light, carrying her over and landing on the sofa. Looking at the beautiful young woman who was sleeping soundly and breathing steadily, Chen Mobai reached out his finger and touched her forehead. A golden diamond pattern lit up. This was the seal he had just set, signifying that it had indeed succeeded. Wazya. Kong Feiken was still struggling on the floor. Chen Mobai got annoyed and waved his left hand, sending 12 golden flying needles flying out from his sleeve. The gleaming, cold-smelling needle tip pressed against Kong Feiken's skin, making the hairs on his body stand on end. He dared not move. Qing Nu is refining the clear eye bamboo spirit dew, so I won't call her yet, so as not to distract her. After saying this, Chen Mobai withdrew his fingers from Yang Jing's forehead, then got up and went to the balcony. He took out his phone, frowned, hesitated for a moment, and then sent a text message to Lan Haitian. Although it's not what you expected, some unexpected things did happen. The other end replied instantly. Would it be convenient to elaborate? It's not convenient right now. Let's find somewhere tonight. Let's wait for you at the place where we first met. Good. After making the agreement, Chen Mobai remembered what Lan Haitian had said to him on the bus. Yang Jing's adoptive parents had once joined a cult, and Gu Changfeng was also a member of this cult when he was young. Moreover, the fact that King Nu, Kong Feiken, and Yang Jing, all three of them, possessed such extraordinary spiritual roots and talents, yet were in the same welfare home, suggests there's more to it than meets the eye. However, after investigating the welfare home, Lan Haitian found no problems. Chen Mobai stood on the balcony, thinking through all the clues, and finally realized that the problem lay with Yang Jing. Her adoptive parents forced her to practice forbidden techniques, but this was discovered by the law enforcement cultivators of the immortal sect. Later, Gu Chengfeng appeared, took King Nu as his disciple, and naturally sealed Yang Jing's second personality, Snake. Moreover, in the years that followed, it was Gu Chengfeng who helped reinforce Yang Jing's seal until he was arrested by Lan Haitian for allegedly practicing forbidden techniques. So why did problems arise when I tried to seal it myself? After sorting through all the clues, Chen Mobai returned to square one. He thought for a moment, then took out his phone, opened the immortal sect spell database, and searched for this sealing spell. With his current foundation establishment cultivation level, he easily found the sealing technique called Tao. After spending 600 points to download the complete content, Chen Mobai finally discovered the problem. The sealing technique that Qing Nu and Kong Feiken taught him differed slightly from the one in the immortal sect spellbook. Although it was only a minor difference, sealing techniques, being such precise spells, could not tolerate even the slightest error. It turns out they gave me the wrong sealing technique. No wonder it took me so long to comprehend it. Chen Mobai, suddenly realizing what was happening, put down his phone and walked to the center of the living room. With a snap of his fingers, the blue scales on Kong Feiken's mouth, hands, and feet transformed into patches of dark blue light that flew back into his right sleeve and reattached to his arm guard. Who taught you your sealing techniques? Chen Mobai began to ask questions, but since the flying needles had not yet been retracted, Kong Feiken still dared not move. He stared at Yang Jing with wide eyes without saying a word. With another snap of his fingers, the azure scale chains binding Yang Jing were also retrieved. Don't worry, I have no interest in you. Besides, if it weren't for Qing Nu, the two of you wouldn't have been able to invite a foundation establishment cultivator like me. Although they were both geniuses with different spiritual roots, Kong Feiken and Yang Jing had no chance to resist due to the significant difference in their cultivation levels. After Chen Mobai realized the problem, he also lost interest. He retrieved the flying needles, edited a text message summarizing the situation, and sent it to King Nu. King Nu should have finished refining the clear eye bamboo do for today, so we can call her over to take charge of the overall situation. Beep, beep, beep. He had barely sent the message when King Nu called him directly. When Chen Mobai answered the phone, he heard her hurried voice. I'll be right there. After listening to his description, King Nu only said this sentence before hanging up the phone. About 10 minutes later, the door was opened with a bang. King Nu rushed in and first went to the sofa to check on Yang Jing, who was unconscious. She breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that she was all right. This is the Tao, downloaded from the Immortal Sect spell library. It has 6 different patterns from the one you taught me. Chen Mobai patted the sofa next to him, gesturing for King Nu to sit down and rest for a while, and then sent her the link about Tao. Qing Nu didn't care about wasting points, so she downloaded a copy with her own account, looked at it carefully, and recalled the sealing technique in her mind. She found that it was indeed as Chen Mobai said, with 6 deviations in the patterns. This could lead to errors or omissions in the sealing process, so why didn't Yangjing have any problems before? Gu Changfeng was the one who was sealing it before. He may have been using the correct seal on Yang Jing, but he held back a trick when he taught you. Chen Mobai put forward his idea, but this would raise another problem. Why did Gu Changfeng do this? We learned our sealing technique from the law enforcement cultivator who captured Yang Jing's adoptive parents. After she helped seal Yang Jing's second personality, she told us about the possible future consequences. In order to protect our sister, we pestered her to teach us this sealing technique. She was a very kind person and taught it to us when we took Yang Jing away. After King Nu returned, Kong Fiken finally spoke up and cooperatively revealed the crucial information. Do you remember her name? I don't remember. I only remember that those people called her Captain Gan. After hearing Kong Fiken's words, Chen Mobai remembered the surname, thinking that with Lan Haitian's influence, he should be able to retrieve the files related to the capture of Yang Jing's adoptive parents. She should be fine. I can sense that her pity for Yang Jing back then was genuine. But at this moment, Qing Nu suddenly spoke up. She reached out and stroked Yang Jing, who was still unconscious but had a furrowed brow, her face full of heartache. There is someone who definitely knows the whole truth. Who? My master. Chen Mobai shook his head when he saw Qing Nu's determined expression. It seems he was transferred from Dangxia City Prison the year we went to university, and we don't know where he is serving his sentence now. I will apply for a prison visit as his disciple. Regardless of whether it will be successful, at least I can try to have a chance to contact him by phone. Yes, a portion of Yang Jing's second personality's power entered my Purple Mansion Sea of Consciousness, but I defeated it. She won't have to worry about this problem for at least the next 6 months. However, it will only take me about 3 days to resume cultivating Tao. Once I use the correct sealing technique, unless she successfully establishes her foundation, she won't be able to break through my seal for 2 or 3 years. Chen Mobai comforted King Nu, saying that at least the problem was discovered on the spot, which was a stroke of luck compared to Yang Jing's later outburst after returning to school. Thank you so much, you've gone to so much trouble. Do we need to say these things to each other? Upon hearing this, a rare smile appeared on King Nu's originally sorrowful face. It's getting late, I'll head back now and come back in 3 days. Chen Mobai glanced at the setting sun outside and then took his leave. King Nu asked Kong Fiken to take care of Yangjing and personally escorted Chen Mobai downstairs. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. After saying those last words, Chen Mobai boarded the bus. Night. At the bus stop not far from his home, Chen Mobai checked the time but did not see Lan Haitian. He frowned, then remembered that their formal conversation had taken place at Changqing Pharmacy. You're late, I thought you weren't coming. Sure enough, in the backyard of the pharmacy, Lan Haitian sat on the edge of the medicine vat, looked up at the moon, and greeted Chen Mobai, who had descended from the sky. The two of us first met at the bus stop at the intersection outside. Oh really? Then maybe I misspoke. Lan Haitian said with a smile, then tossed a file to Chen Mobai. The latter didn't need to open it. He simply scanned it with his divine sense and read its contents before tossing it back to him. Gan Ronxia retired 4 years ago, and now stays at home to be a wife and mother. Upon investigation, no evidence of any connection with the Ascension cult was found. However, the law enforcement minister who had forced her into retirement died a month ago from a qi deviation. The autopsy is still underway, but it's almost certain that he practiced forbidden techniques. The Ascension cult. Chen Mobai gleaned the key information from this file. This is a heretical sect founded by some ancient Taoist lineages. The current leader is the sect leader of the Ascension sect, hence the name Ascension sect. He cultivates the method of corpse dissolution immortal and has already undergone 2 cycles of physical dissolution and reincarnation. His realm is profound. You can regard him as a very powerful nascent soul master. Take it, with so many nascent soul cultivators in the immortal sects, surely they can't take down a small cult. Chen Mobai was very puzzled. How dare a mere cult leader act so recklessly in the immortal sect? That would require him to be within the immortal sect's territory. Since founding the sect, this ascended sect master has been refining his star qi in the heavens. Lan Haitian also looked helpless. The immortal sect was indeed powerful. Over the past 6,000 years, a total of 28 ancient Taoist lineages have been eradicated. 3,300 years ago, 9 grandmasters from the divine sect and the demonic sect were killed. Thousands of years ago, the master of Zhenyang Temple cultivated his primordial spirit, But before he could even boast for 2 days, he was utterly destroyed by 2 nascent soul patriarchs from the immortal sect. But now these descendants of the ancient Taoist lineages no longer confront the immortal sects directly. Many have been granted amnesty and surrendered. Stubborn individuals, such as the ascended cult leader, even built a starship overseas and escaped Earthly Star directly. They only left seeds in the consciousness of some followers, ready to descend and possess them to spread their teachings whenever needed. So Gu Changfeng is a member of the Ascension cult. My initial assessment is that he is a core disciple of the sect. Based on my observations over the past 4 years, a divine seed has been planted in his mind. Who's that ascended cult leader? If he cultivated the devouring God technique, then he should be another ancient grandmaster, one of the vice leaders of the Ascension sect, the divine imperial pavilion master. Does the Ascension cult have many vice leaders? We have confirmed 3: the master of Shenyu Pavilion, the master of Huakai Academy, and the master of the Hall of Life and Death. Are they all outside the heavens? Upon hearing Lan Haitian's words, Chen Mobai felt an indescribable emotion welling up inside him. To be honest, the immortal sect is quite proud that it has intimidated these ancient masters and giants to the point that they dare not set foot on Earth Origin Star. But the thought that there was an evil force like the Ascension sect hiding in the immortal sect that he thought should be peaceful and stable made him feel that even the many nascent soul cultivators and the 2 divine transformation ancestors in the immortal sect were becoming somewhat complacent. We must eradicate evil completely. Why are you suddenly telling me all this? He then asked Lan Haitian. What is your status now? You are a disciple of the Dance Weapon Academy, a direct descendant of the immortal sect with impeccable lineage. You and I are both obligated to suppress the ancient lineage. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai didn't react. He pointed to himself, looking completely bewildered. I'm still just a student. End of this chapter.